Welcome back to episode 232. Welcome back to episode 243 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Joe. I'm here with Bob and Louie and our very special E-Boo today. Now, we all know in hockey about E-Bugs, the emergency backup goalies. Today, we needed an emergency backup host, and that's none other than Jeremy Lee. Hey, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Hey, happy to be back, fellas.
Yeah, well, happy to have you. Always love to have you. Now, we needed an E-Boo, an emergency backup host, because Phil is at a cottage with a girl. So apparently hockey cards are cool until a girl calls, and then we lose Phil. He just takes off, disappears. So that's the very dramatic, very important reason why you're here, Jeremy, because Phil, a girl called, and all of a sudden, poof, he disappears.
I'll take it. I'll take it when I can get it, and I guess that's what Phil is doing as well.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Everybody, tune into Fridays with Phil on Friday and ask him how it goes. Maybe he kissed her. I don't know. Maybe he said, "I love you." Could have got very serious on this cottage trip. No. Now, you're far enough in Western Canada where you guys don't do any of the cottage mumbo jumbo, right? You're cabin people. Is that right there?
Growing up in Winnipeg, we used to go to the cottage every summer. Out here in Calgary, which is west, I don't know what there aren't a lot of. It's more like going to the ski resorts out here versus going to the cottage or cabin. So I'm not even sure what they call it out here.
What's the biggest ski resort around you?
Well, Banff, Lake Louise, Whistler. Yeah, we have them all.
How far from Banff are you?
I can literally go to Banff for lunch and come home.
No.
It's about an hour and 10-minute drive door to door for me.
That's my dream vacation, is to go out there.
Come on down, buddy.
I want to go.
Just start the Banff card show right at the tippy top of the mountain. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, that'd be great. You'd
have January.
6 people would show up, one table.
Here's my card. Now I want to come see though, because I love skiing. Mainly go to Montana around here, but that's a smooth 22-hour drive, so that's no fun.
Come on down.
Are you a skier? Do you ski?
No, I do not. No.
Oh, okay. Snowboard? You're pretty tall.
I'm I'm 6.5 feet tall. Makes it challenging. I have snowboarded before. I've been on skis a couple times. I've snowboarded a few times, but I don't, maybe once a decade.
6.5 feet's a long ways to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, typically you fall right on your butt on a snowboard too, but
I didn't.
So we have the Oracle with us, Jeremy Lee, who are very, very pleased and excited about that. Phil is gallivanting, with a girl. I don't know what's happening there. We do have Fridays with Phil this Friday, YouTube Live. Reminder to check out that. I don't know how this guy will top what last Friday was. It was the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. And he had a 700 card mail day, because who doesn't have 700 cards as part of their mail day? And went through them all, but I'm sure he'll come up with something fun. One last thing before we get started. Got a great show today. Jeremy, continuing his series, which I'm very excited about, is a reminder that our show, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, is a Patreon podcast. What that means is we rely on the support of listeners and watchers like yourself to help us cover our show expenses, continue to produce more in what we hope is better hockey card content, and to fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey hobby. You can support us for as little as $5 a month through Patreon. Be one of the first 299 supporters of our show, forever have that title. Get exclusive access to Discord, where we have a great community there. Hey, did we do that thing today or no? Did we forget, Louis?
What?
Remember, we're going to highlight.
Oh, I did not.
Okay. We'll do that later. Participate in challenges like our 5K and fantasy hockey, other stuff we're doing there too. It's very easy to support us. All you got to do is go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page, or go to Patreon directly, patreon.com, search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. There's a link in our show description in both YouTube and podcast apps, and then in our Instagram, TikTok profiles too. Okay, Baba Louie, you ready with the game plan, bud? You're on mute, Louie.
Hey, he's surrendering. Cute little
I'm
turkeys.
sorry, I don't know what you're doing. It sounds like random turkeys flying across the screen.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Your turkey's running. So we're going to start off with Know Your Hall of Famers. Then it's Studs or Duds, tracking NHL prospects. Then we're off to some hobby news. Then we will let everybody know what we're thankful for.
mm,
Off to new product releases. Then the five, I got it right this time, not 10, 5
Yep.
hockey cards that defined each decade with Jeremy Lee. Then we're going to step into the Fanatics Collect weekly hockey preview and close up with some personal pickups.
okay, here we go. It's time for Kitchen Hall of Famers. What a cock show we are. We're going to continue our series and examine the life and accomplishments of the hobby market. Today, we're going to feature Cyclone Taylor, who's elected into the Hockey Hall of Fame as part of the 1947 class. In this series, we do a quick bio, state of the case as to why you should care about him, and then look at his hobby market. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. Jeremy, I know you know a little bit about Cyclone Taylor, so maybe you can fill in some of the blanks here, or I don't know, maybe something will come up that you didn't know before. So Frederick Wellington, Cyclone Taylor, lived from 1884 until 1979. 94 years. That's a life well lived. I take that. Played professional hockey, though, from 1906 to 1922. He was a cover point and a rover. So he played two positions that literally don't exist anymore. Now, as a reminder, cover point was essentially a defenseman, so pretty interchangeable in today's game. And then a rover was the old seventh position that preceded the NHL, where you had a goalie and six skaters. And the seventh was the rover that was free roaming, could skate anywhere on the ice, so very comparable to a modern two-way forward, typically the best skater on the team. Taylor's career started in 1906 in the International Hockey League, playing for Portage in Michigan. Why that's noteworthy, I think, is the IHF was the first professional hockey league in the world. First opportunity for hockey players to get paid for their sport. Now, the Cyclone nickname originated from Taylor's lightning fast skating and agility, and that kind of makes sense. And he was typically the best skater on the ice during any game in which he played. He was a two-time Stanley Cup champion, won the Cup in 1909 with Ottawa, and then with the Vancouver Millionaires in 1915.
I remember that.
Yeah. I got my Millionaire sweatshirt coming very soon. It's in the mail right now. Very excited about that. Taylor led the Millionaires to their one and only Stanley Cup, scoring 6 goals in 3 games. During his time with the Millionaires, he'd win 5 Pacific Coast Hockey League scoring titles. He was named the PCHA's most valuable player in 1918. In his 9 seasons in the PCHA with the Millionaires, he averaged 1.25 goals per game. I think Taylor lived a life on the straight and narrow. He never drank alcohol, smoked cigarettes, or cursed. Good for a family show, I guess, eh, Louis?
Yep.
Which was unusual for hockey players at that time and probably unusual for hockey players now. He attributed this to honoring his mother's deeply religious beliefs. I think they were Methodist or something like that. Cyclone Taylor was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1947. After hockey, he had a long career as a civil servant in Canada, working mainly in the immigration department, and was awarded the Order of the British Empire. Taylor passed away in Vancouver at the age of 94, as previously mentioned, after a long life well lived. Now, why should we care about him? Taylor was renowned for his speed, agility, and creativity. His ability to skate faster and more gracefully than most players of his time set new standards for what was possible in hockey. He popularized a more dynamic and strategic approach to the game, breaking away from the dump and chase style that was common in the early 1900s. Louis, was also common in the Jacques Lemaire era for the Wild, too, dump and chase. Wouldn't have loved that era. His ability to transition seamlessly between offense and defense helped define the concept of a two-way player in hockey. Taylor was one of the first major stars in professional hockey, helping establish the sport as a legitimate and entertaining profession. He famously moved from the Ottawa Senators, an amateur team, to the Renfrew Creamery Kings, a professional team, for a then astounding salary of $5,250 in 1910. This was noteworthy because him and Ty Cobb were the highest paid athletes in the world at that time. And by Taylor getting that salary in Renfrew, it really highlighted the financial viability for professional hockey, right? That this could be a thing that people could make careers out of. Taylor was a key player in the PCHA, a rival league to the NHL during the early 20th century. His involvement in star power helped legitimize the league and bring attention to hockey on the West Coast. The PCHA introduced innovative rules such as the blue line, forward passing, and which were later influenced the NHL to adopt those as well. His legacy even lives on today. Each year, the Vancouver Canucks award the team's most valuable player the Cyclone Taylor Trophy. Jeremy, any guesses who won the Cyclone Taylor Trophy last year for the Vancouver Canucks?
JT Miller.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
That was a total guess, I swear.
Yeah, you got it. So that was our little
That's the
bio
only other
on
guy I could think of other than Brock Besser off the top of my head.
Quinn Hughes. Might have been.
Duh.
Yeah. Cyclone Taylor. You're probably the first one to teach me about his cards. What stands out to you about him, or what do you appreciate about Fred Cyclone Taylor, Jeremy?
Well, the legend of him, of course. So you might have seen me get up a couple minutes ago. I just went to my I have a hobby kind of book and magazine bookshelf. So I went and grabbed this book off of it, which I have the book, but I have not read it yet. So I don't have all the facts in my head to be able to share anything, but I'm going to give this a read eventually. And then I also went and grabbed this one off my shelf. This is called Empire of Ice. And this was gifted to me by Dylan Callow, probably a listener of your show. And as I was flipping through it just now, I did find this picture of Cyclone in there. It says Cyclone Taylor in his 1914-15 uniform. Just a picture of him right there. So kind of cool. The other thing I'd mention about Cyclone Taylor from a hobby perspective is that he is one of the most widely collected, pioneer era players as far as his memorabilia cards go. Obviously his tobacco cards are very popular, but there's a few collectors. One prominent collector, his name is Eli Rosu, and he's kind of been known for chasing Cyclone Taylor mem cards from various in the game products and that. So he's I don't think he'd end up on any of your Mount Rushmores, because those teams are, maybe if you did a Mount Rushmore of the Vancouver Millionaires or one of those old teams, he might end up on one of those. But he's highly collected, and his memorabilia cards are very popular.
Yeah, great context. We'll quickly cover Cyclone Taylor's hobby market from a Plain Days perspective. Jeremy kind of already nailed it on the head. He's really a tobacco era player. He has 3 Plain Days cards. They're from the first 3 original hockey sets: the 1910 C56, the 1911 C55, and the 1912 C57. So his rookie card again comes from the 1910 C56. It's card number 15. The PSA 4 is the highest selling to date. That went for $8,400 US this past April. The highest selling overall Cyclone Taylor card to date, though, is not a rookie. It's a 1911 C55 PSA 8. That's a crazy condition for a C55. So for what was it? $10,500 US in July of 2019. I'm guessing that might be a little bit more valuable today. I would assume, Jeremy, if that card went back up on the market.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so for sure. It's one of the key cards that I just don't have yet in my C55 set. So I'd love to get a lower grade copy.
In both his 1911 or 1910 and 1911 cards, he's rocking the Renfrew Creamery King sweater, as you can kind of see there. But his final Plain Day cards is the 1912 C57, where he's now pictured with the Vancouver Millionaires. This PSA 6 is a high selling copy, went for $8,688 US in May of 2019. So again, these don't sell very often, especially in higher condition. And these are the only 3 Plain Day cards for Cyclone Taylor that I could find. So there you go. Get to know your Hall of Famer, Fred Cyclone Taylor. Well, we're going to go from...
Hey, I got a question quick.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Why'd the cards get worse?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? I don't know. Maybe maybe the ink got more expensive. Not only do they... Have you held any of these, Louis? These C50, any of these?
No.
The C57s, not only do they just look worse because of the lack of color, but they are also the thinnest of the 3. So they are extremely condition sensitive because of that. and I have no idea why, but that's a great question.
Can I tell you my theory that I've thought this for a long time and never spoken it?
No.
And I have no idea if it's the case. I would love to ask somebody that knows. I wonder if if a photograph was super novel and cool back in that day and kind of seen as like very high tech, where the 1910 and 11 cards are more what artistic
Art.
renditions of him. If like people would have been, oh my gosh, it's an actual photo of the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
God, you're
Maybe.
smart. So smart.
You just talk authoritatively and then you sound smart. We've been winning. That's my trick, Louis. There you go.
Makes sense. It makes
Well, I
sense.
didn't even pick up on that. I didn't even think of it. You know, the artist drawing versus that's a photo. So
Yeah, not today a photo's no big deal, but I'm sure
Right.
it was a big deal in 1912. You know, people
Mhm.
didn't have Polaroids they were running around with. Okay, as I mentioned, we're going to go from players like Cyclone Taylor that played more than 100 years ago to players that are playing today. Let's talk about some studs or duds. I wanted to check in on some 2024, 25, the season, some of our prospects, see how they're doing. We are about a quarter of the way. Can you believe, Jeremy, we're a quarter of the way
Yeah,
through
so
the hockey
fast.
season already? Gosh, you blink and it's over. And so, yeah, I thought it was appropriate to kind of see how some of these younger, not rookies, but prospects are doing. And I wanted to focus on four guys we don't talk about all the time and that have some potential. We get messages about, and you know, maybe what their potential is to make a hobby splash or not. It's a simple game, and I'm going to lay out the facts regarding each player's 2024-25 performance, how they did in prior seasons, and then their hobby market trends. And we're going to each project, or maybe even boldly declare, maybe who knows, them as a hobby stud or dud. And what we mean by stud or dud is their hobby chase or market. We know that there's tons of good players. You get a little cheeky sometimes in the content game, right, Jeremy? Where, but there are lots of really great hobby players that are kind of duds from or hockey players that are duds from a hobby perspective, like a Kucherov, right? I mean, come
Right.
on, he's a great player, I love him, but not much
Awesome
going on.
defenseman, right?
Yeah, yeah, Troy. But not much going on in the hobby department there. And the hardest things and one of the funnest things to do is try to project people. So, like I said, I didn't want to pick rookies or even guys in their second year that it's too early to kind of get any sort of read on. And so I went for guys under 25 that have been around, at least played 3 years. That I don't know at this point, are we comfortable sort of projecting where we think that they're going to end up in the hobby? Anytime we do this, and especially if we call anyone a dud, we're guaranteed to get tons of messages telling us why we're wrong. And the only
Mhm.
thing I would ask is that you please direct all of those messages in care of Jeremy Lee at Sports Cards Live. It's better that way, Jeremy, mainly for us. So,
Thanks,
sound fun?
Jeremy.
I am so happy to be there and help you guys out.
All right, thanks. All right, so the first guy I wanted to talk about in the studs or duds category is someone that I don't know if we've ever had any less or more than 4-second conversation on the show, but we've probably gotten hundreds of messages, and it's Connor McMichael. Are you familiar at all with this game, Jeremy, or the player?
Familiar with the player, yeah. And the thing that I find the most interesting is that he's basically Connor McDavid, but Connor McMichael. Two of the most common names after the Mick. It's a great name for a player right now.
Yeah, Connor is where it's at if you're going to be in this hobby, I guess. So McMichael is just 23 years old. He was the 25th overall pick in the first round in 2019. Now, he did not immediately make an impact in the NHL for Louis Washington Capitals. He spent most of 2020 and 21 in the AHL with the Hershey Bears, eating chocolate, playing hockey, and had 27 points in 33 games played, which included 14 goals. So that got him a shot with the Capitals the next season. And in 2021-22, in 68 games played, scored 9 goals and produced 18 total points, which earned him a trip back to Hershey for 2022-23, where McMichael scored 16 goals, accumulated 39 points in 57 games played, which earned him another opportunity back with the Capitals last season, where he was a little bit better, scored 18 goals, added 15 assists for 33 points. So that's sort of the history. Now we get into this season, and he's off to a pretty nice start, actually, and the messages have ramped up. where in 21 games played, he has 13 goals and 20 points. That being said, though, since Ovi went down, McMichael's cooled off a little bit with just 1 goal in the past 5 games played. Looking at his hobby market real quick, Connor McMichael's a 2020 Young Guns, PSA 10 pop 301, 54% gem rate, last sold for 110 US on November 24th. About a month ago, it was selling for like $46. So it's more than doubled since then. And since the start of the season, if you look at Card Ladder sales history, 656 McMichael cards have sold on the secondary markets. So what do you think, Jeremy? Is there enough for you at this point, and even watching him play a few games, or what you've observed over the last 3 years, where you have an inkling one way or another? Do you think he'll end up being a hobby stud or a hobby dud?
Gosh, I mean, yeah, he didn't come out of the gate. His cards did not come out of the gate super hot or really very much on the radar. The one thing that might have put him on the radar was his name. And I kind of wondered, could his name have actually helped him in the hobby? As silly as it sounds, things like that do exist. So the cards didn't come out of the gate very strong, his Young Guns, his Cup RPAs, etc. So now there's an opportunity for them to go up in value. And if you're somebody who somehow had the foresight to prospect Connor McMichael in his, in 2020, 2021, you're probably reaping the benefits right now. Now, does that make you a hobby stud? I don't think so, but I think it's going to help him have a more of a market than just not a market at all, So I cannot declare him a hobby. I can't declare him either. Do I have to pick one, Josh?
You have to pick one. Like, it's subject to change, but where he's trending, we would go with that.
Then I'm going to say he's trending towards hobby stud, and I think also, he plays with Ovechkin. He's been. I mean, I look at the game summaries every day, and I see him scoring goals. And early on the season, Ovechkin, he's had a great season so far, despite the injury. But early, McMichael was scoring all the goals, and I'd see it was, Washington has 3 goals. I'd go look hoping it was Ovi, and it's Connor McMichael with 1 or 2 of them. So that could earn him, because eyes are on Washington because of Ovi. There's no Backstrom there anymore. You got Strome, you got Ovi. McMichael is maybe the third guy there who, in terms of getting points, and that could move him towards hobby stud, but I would say hobby junior stud.
Okay, junior stud. I like it. I think I agree very similar to you in maybe the angle that I would take, though, or what I would add to what you said is you got tons of attention on the Capitals because of Ovechkin, who, of course, is long in the tooth. And if you're a Capitals fan beyond Ovi, and if you're thinking, okay, when Ovi's not here anymore, who am I excited about from the hobby point of view on this team? And you're going to gravitate, Tom Wilson is what he is. Backstrom is what he is. John Carlson is what he is, right? And I would think that McMichael, being 23 years old and flashing this potential, it might be the obvious choice in that regard as to, who will carry this team from the hobby perspective once OV is gone. He's probably the best thing they have going for them at this point, I would think.
Yeah.
So
I think that I like that. I like that. And I think you're going to start seeing people invest in him, collect. I don't even say maybe collect, maybe invest. One of them leaning towards McMichael.
You make a good point. Like when I think of hobby stud, I probably should have clarified that. It's not just like whose cards are worth the most on the hobby market, but who's like the big chase for that team, whether it be for PC or for hobby, versus people that, sort of fall off the radar. Okay, that was number 1, Connor McMichael. The second of 4 is, love the name, John Jason Peterka, JJP. Got to go with it. I say stud just for the name, but we'll go through the exercise. So John Jason Peterka is only 22 years old, hails from Munich, Germany, was the 34th overall pick in the 2020 NHL entry draft. Now, he stayed in Europe after the draft, which is the COVID thing, so that probably makes sense. Then he came back to North America for 2021-22, recording 28 goals, 40 assists for 68 points in 70 games played for the Rochester Americans in the AHL. And since then, he's played in the NHL, and now in his 3rd season In 2022, he scored 12 goals, totaled 32 points in 77 games played for the Sabres. Then he increased his production last season to what I would call a fairly impressive 28 goals, 22 assists for 50 points in 82 games played. He's been a touch banged up this year. Does have 7 goals, 9 assists for 16 points in 19 games played in 2024-25. He's also been playing on the Sabres first line with Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck, as well on the first power play unit. Now, JJP is a 2021 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 444, 68% gem rate. Last sold for $71 US on November 18th, which is about flat or so over the past month. And 481 Paterka cards have sold on the secondary markets since the start of the season. Now, here's my little editorial before I get your opinion on and it's more on Buffalo than JJP.
That's where I
I
was
think for
going to
the
go.
last 3 years, we've been waiting for some other solid hobby chase on this team other than Tage Thompson to emerge. And for a while, everyone thought it'd be Dylan Cousins. And you have Rasmus Dahlin, who plays more defensive defenseman type. Owen Power, kind of in the same vein. You have Zach Benson, who's showing some flashes. But could it be JJP that really asserts himself as the secondary scorer on the team and develops a hobby market? But that's just me. Jeremy, you're the oracle. Is John Jason Paterka or JJP a hobby stud or a dud?
I'm going to go hobby dud. So first of all, Buffalo, that does not help you to become a hobby stud. So there's that. The one thing he has going for them is the Hockey Cards Gongshow, because I hear you say JJP very regularly, and that brings him attention. I think that the Hockey Cards Gongshow is the best thing that JJP has going for him. I like Connor McMichael better as far as if you are looking to invest in a player. I don't like saying that, but if you are. The total PSA 10 pop is lower for McMichael too. I know it's not about comparing these guys, but there's that. And there are other players on that team. You just mentioned a bunch of them. The Powers, the Dahlins that I think are maybe like in order for him to pass those guys in terms of hobby love, he has to keep on improving. So you just mentioned, his rookie year, 32 points, 12 goals, second year, 50 points, 28 goals. Right now, he's got 16.7 goals in 19 games. You multiply that by 4, he's on pace for 28, maybe 29 goals, which is the same as last year. But points-wise, he's on pace for like 65 or so points, which is 15 more than this year if he stays healthy, plays a full season. That trajectory is really solid, actually, but is that even enough? Is 65 points enough in Buffalo to make you a hobby stud? I'm going to say no.
Yeah, you probably need to be in the average 40 goals, 80 points kind of guy, I would assume, to get there. And the other kind of kid I kind of like is that Zach Benson kid. He's not having a great year so far this year. I don't know if you know his story. He's a Western Canada kid. Grew up in a Carney family, so never really had roots. Would go from town to town and county to county, or whatever you guys call them in Canada. And they would have to find rinks for him. Just kind of a really kind of cool. And he's played with Bedard growing up in Western Canada a lot, and was a producer. So, but it's so early for him, it's almost impossible to tell. Okay, so we have one stud, junior stud, and one dud so far in Connor McMichael and JJP. And by the way, it's terrifying to think that we would have any influence over stuff like that. I know that kind of comes with the territory, but that literally sent shivers down my spine because I never want to have that sort of influence whatsoever.
Well, too bad, my friend. I truly believe that you do. Sorry.
Okay. Now, player number 3. Here's the photo that started it all: the infamous Shane Wright revenge tour, as he shockingly slipped to the 4th overall pick in the 2022 NHL draft.
Oh, God.
Well, I didn't think it was that shocking, but I know it was very, very sad for many Shane Wright fans. My favorite sound effect, sorry. I'm not sure it's gotten a ton better since then. I think we kind of all know the story. So, Wright got a short run with the Kraken after the draft, but spent most of the time there in the Shane Wright Memorial Press Box. Even when Grandma and Grandpa came down from Canada to see a 3-game homestand, never exactly hit the ice. And then after scoring a goal, added an assist in 8 games in his, I guess, rookie, I don't know if you call it rookie year because it was just that short stint, he was sent back to the OHL. No biggie, though, I guess, as even today, he's still just 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2022, he's mainly been in the AHL, attending, or I guess not. Sorry, I mean playing in Coachella, and I'd say he's been decent. I don't know. Last season, he scored 22 goals, added 25 assists for 47 points, 59 games played, which I think was good enough for this year to finally get a full time shot in the NHL with the Kraken. And yeah, 19 games, he has 2 goals, 2 assists, and is just averaging 12 minutes time on ice. He's been benched already, but then did come back, and I think that was real recently, and had a goal and assist in his first game back. So that I guess that's the response you're going to want to see if you're the Kraken. He's been centering the Kraken's third line, getting some time on the second power play unit. And looking at the hobby, his 2022-23 Young Guns, his PSA 10s popped just 442, 29% gem rate, very low. Last sold for 71 US on November 26, down about 45% since the beginning of October, was selling like in the $130 range. And so far this season, or since the start of the season, 955 Shane Wright cards have sold on the secondary markets per card letter sales history. So I don't know, it's like I think you have to kind of still measure him in the context of the hype and the proposed star that people thought he was going to be coming into that 2022 draft. And so, Jeremy, at this point in the young Shane Wright's career, are you declaring him a hobby stud or a hobby dud?
I declare him a hobby dud.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad saying that, but I kind of feel that way too. Like it's
You
just
have to
nothing's
right
going
now.
good.
You
Oh,
know, he was like you just said, Josh, and I was just looking it up. I mean, he was just benched for 3 games in a row. He came back, had a goal and an assist, which doubled his point production to 4 points in 19 games played. I mean, his overall career stats, he's got 11 points in 35 games, 8 penalty minutes. Number 4 overall. I think that he fell for a reason in the draft. Those scouts on those first 3 teams that passed on him knew what they were doing. Seattle, I think, took a shot and said, listen, because he was the number 1 prospect for several months leading into that draft, I recall. I don't know which months, if they were the most recent months or back, early in that year leading up, but he was a top prospect and he just didn't deliver. And when that happens, it's hard to bounce back and become that later on, I think. So I think he's a hobby dud. And yeah, I mean, listen, I want the best for this guy. I want the best for Seattle Kraken, but I'm not very hopeful for him. I'm hopeful. I don't expect him to bounce back, but I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I think you made a good point there too. That, and I'll speak for you, but I'm sure this is correct. Like we don't root against any player. I mean, there's no reason to from a hobby perspective.
No.
But it's just more, trying to project at this point, like what we've seen and what that could lead to in the future. And it, unfortunately for Wright, it just doesn't seem like he's been able to catch any momentum that would live up to that hype. Because you're right. I mean, he was the presumptive number 1 pick by many people the day of the draft.
Mm.
And that's where it was so shocking. It's like, well, wait a minute. Shane Wright didn't go number 1. And then, I wouldn't call going to 4 some sort of dramatic slide, but when you're thought to be the first overall pick, that's pretty, then to have 3 teams pass over you, like to the point you made, I think could be telling there from that perspective.
And I'm looking at the draft right now that year. Slavkovsky goes number 1, then Simon Nemec to New Jersey, then Logan Cooley, then Shane Wright. And after that, you got Cutter Gauthier and Korchinski, but it's not a very strong first round. I don't see any other names in this first round at all. And I've just gone through the 32 picks. No one else in there. And this is already a couple years old. Some of these guys should be in Mintukov in Anaheim, he's having a bit of he's okay, but that's about it. He was selected 10th. So I don't need, like, we're saying he's a hobby dud and he hasn't performed for the team. So maybe he's a hockey dud as well, but he hasn't exactly been a disappointing draft pick even at 4, because after that, there are not a lot of players that are performing.
Yeah, I get that. Maybe the only one thing I would add to that is, like, Bedard, he was Upper Deck's cover athlete for that draft. So they put a lot of steam behind him. Like, they bet on him pretty heavy to maybe carry that class, because I'm assuming that's the only conclusion that you can make when as Upper Deck signs these kids right before the draft, is they assume, okay, Bedard's going to be our cover athlete, he'll carry the draft, and others that they've signed. And so it didn't really pan out in that regard too.
Correct. Yeah. And which is disappointing for all that wax product. But luckily, you do have, Slavkovsky, although I don't think he's been playing very well lately either. So that
Yeah.
whole year is not looking great from a wax product perspective. But as far as Upper Deck goes, that stuff's done. That's in the past. And I'm sure there's a lot of it sitting in LCS's back rooms. And now that's the risk that those businesses take and are going to have to deal with.
Yep. Okay. And then the last guy we're going to cover is Mason McTavish, 21 years old, in the midst of his third full NHL season. He was the third overall pick in the 2021 NHL entry draft, behind Owen Power and maybe another dud, Matty Beniers. But that's a different day. He spent 2021 season after the draft bouncing between the Ducks, the OHL, and then lighting the world on fire in the U20 World Junior Championship. I think it was in the summer of 2021, where he had 8 goals, 9 assists for 17 points in 7 games. And that was right before the season started. So I remember there being a ton of Mason McTavish momentum coming into his rookie year there. In 2022-23 with the Ducks, he scored 17 goals, totaled 43 points in 80 games played. Pretty good probably for a 19-year-old. I'd take that. Last season, though, was about the same. Not a lot of that progression that Jeremy was talking about. 19 goals, 23 assists for 42 points in 64 games played. He was a little banged up last year, too. And then this season, he's been hurt as well. I think he's just coming back from IR, or just did. In 14 games played, McTavish has 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points. Recently, he's been centering the Ducks' first line with Trevor Zegras and Alex Killorn, and has been gaining some time on the second power play unit. McTavish is a 2021 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 2,137, 57% gem rate. Last sold for just $38 on November 23rd, down about 17% in the past month. And since the start of the season, about 625 McTavish cards have sold on the secondary markets per card ladder sales history. All right, Jeremy, we're all at the edge of our seats here. What does the Oracle say about Mason McTavish?
I'm sad to say, but hobby dud. Yeah. And you mentioned his last 2 years, and you said he was banged up last season. So he goes from 43 points in 80 games to 42 games and 42 points in 64 games. So he regressed in his second year after his first year, which is fine, sophomore slump. This year, if you extrapolate his 8 points in 14 games, he's on pace for 46 points, which is only slightly more than what he had before. It's actually might be another regression, actually, 8 and 14. So not an improvement. He's trending in the wrong direction. If that's due to injury, it's understandable. It might take him a couple of seasons to get his legs back under him and turn him into someone who's going to put up some offensive production, which is what can potentially turn him into a hobby stud. He is only 21. He's still very young. Third overall pick, as mentioned. It's going to be tough to turn these guys it's tough to become a hobby stud. Is Mikko Rantanen a hobby stud? Right. So it's really difficult to be a hobby stud. I'm going to just, again, come back to what I said at the beginning. He's a hobby dud, in my opinion.
I think you just made a hugely important point, in that very few players become hobby studs. And again, I'll go back and reemphasize what I did before we started this conversation. Hobby stud, hobby dud. could end up being a pretty good hockey player. Mikko Rantanen, I would say, is better than a pretty good hockey player. He's a really good hockey player, and he's almost a complete hobby dud. You have to have it can't just be production. It has to be marketability, personality, hype. One thing I worry about, and it's just not that I'm like plugged into the situation, but just from observation, on paper, you've got this Anaheim Ducks team that's loaded with young prospects. Leo Carlson, Cutter Gauthier, Mason McTavish, Trevor Zegras, Pavel Minchukov, Olen Zellweger, and none of them are doing that great. It's like, is this an environment where if you're drafted, you're like, oh man, you know, not a good situation for me. Where if you put, Mason McTavish, like almost what happened with Lafreniere on the Rangers, where they finally put him with good players, and he stunk playing on the fourth line with all the other kids, and then all of a sudden they put him on a line with Artemi Panarin, and it's like, oh man, Alexei Lafreniere is pretty good at hockey. Who would have thought, right? And how do these kids in where there's really no veteran force that can help them produce and grow in the game? It's like it's going to be, I think, a pretty tough situation. Do you agree with that at all, or am I overplaying that situation? That
No,
aspect?
I completely agree with what you just said there. Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish that Patrick Kane was still in Chicago to work with Connor Bedard. That
Yeah.
sort of thing, and there's so much youth in Anaheim, which that might be okay, but and GMs know that you have to bring in a mentor for these young kids. So who is there anyone in Anaheim that is that kind of mentor right now? I'm just not sure that there is. Nobody comes to mind for me right away here, but doesn't mean there's nobody there. Yeah, we all frantically go find the Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean,
Ducks.
you have Alex Killorn, who I think that was part of the reason why he was brought in, and he is playing on that McTavish line. You have Radko Gudas, who's on the defense to probably mentor those guys, and but
There's nobody there. I'm looking at the roster now. That, like you mentioned, those guys. You're being very generous, I think, as well. Robbie Fabry, I mean, Cam Fowler, both on the IR. There's nobody there. But okay. That said, though, I also it makes me think back to the Edmonton Oilers in the early 2010s when they had Nugent Hopkins and Taylor Hall and Eberle, all these young guys. You look forward, what happened? They all have had decent careers, and Nuge is still going pretty strong. So what I'm trying to say is that these young kids could develop together, but I think if they had some good veteran, like San Jose brought in Tyler Toffoli. I think that was great because he's a good kind of glue guy. I don't see that sort of name on Anaheim, and I just think that is going. That doesn't mean that they're going to not become great players, or one or two of them might not become great players. It just means that it might take longer for them to really find their way in the men's league.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason why I want to have this conversation is, as I look back and look through the last 5 hobby classes, right? And you try to think, like, who's the last like certifiable hobby, like studs, like certifiable? It would be Jack Hughes and Cale Makar from 2019, right? And then I'm a homer, I get it, but I would throw Kaprizov in there from 2020 too. I don't, maybe Cole Caulfield in 21, but I think he's still on that border. Like sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. And then I don't know if you could say anyone from 2022, 23. The next season, Bedard, you can't put Bedard there. I mean, based on hype, yes, but not performance. And then it's pretty early for this most recent rookie class in 2024-25. And it just shows, I think, again, how rare it is to find that next Jack Hughes in the hockey hobby.
You know who sort of does come to mind for me, though, is and this is one where there's sort of this extra allure to the player, Michkov. I mean, he's a guy,
right.
yeah, who has hobby stud potential. I mean, look at that team. You've got Couturier and Konechny kind of leading that team in scoring, and neither of them are hobby studs. Couturier was a Cup RPA out of 99 back in 2011, I believe. Konechny wasn't in his year. So those guys, I don't know if they are like sexy players to collect, where Michkov seems to have that hobby, forgive me for the term, that hobby sex appeal. And I don't know why. I don't know much about his history unless he just was, lights out in junior or in Russia where he or wherever he played junior. I don't know his trajectory. So he seems to have that hobby shine going for him, and that could turn into something.
I think it's because he's not afraid to get himself in there and get dirty and play the game. I could take this from a, not hobby perspective, but I've been coaching hockey for so many years, and I think I'm not going to blame USA Hockey or Canada or anybody, but there's a lot of stipulations and things they want us to do to groom these kids to grow up playing hockey in stations and doing different things. And kids can't hit body contact until they're older now. I'm just going to say the kids are soft is part of the problem. Mm-hmm. And therefore they're not out there producing like I think they should on the ice. Open ice game, yeah, they're great, but 90% of those games on the board. So good luck.
He does have the pedigree too. He broke, I don't have the stat in front of me, but it was something like Ovechkin's like 18 or 19-year-old KHL goals record. And then it was a wild situation where his dad was murdered, found in a pond. He wasn't expected to come to the United States until later, similar to the whole Kaprizov deal. But Louis and I were 2 feet away from him a couple of months ago, and he's kind of cocky.
Mm-hmm.
In a very confident sort of way. Like he was like making fun of other Russian players, and he's making fun, like joking at it was at the Capitals, the rookie showcase at their practice facility. And I can't say that guy. It's like Miryashenko or something like that. He was kind of poking fun at him, and he just seemed to be, very much on that. Like his chest was puffed out and very, very confident.
Mm.
And I think that that's translated to the game. Where I get excited about him, and I agree with you. I feel like there's just something in the air about this kid. Is when I think of like markets that just are desperate for a hobby star, it would be pretty cool for Philadelphia to have a guy to chase. Like it's been since Lindros there. They've had someone.
That's the name that just came to mind for me. Yeah. Lindros. And before that, it might've been Lindbergh.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's sad story there. So, well, I don't know. I thought that went pretty good. It's kind of fun to talk about some of the new kids and remind ourselves that it's very hard to become a hobby star. And we have to remember that as we get excited about these guys as hobbyists, to measure our enthusiasm and investments we make into those players. Got to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner sponsor Slab Sharks. We're grateful for their support of our show. The Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction ends tonight. Remember, there's over 2,100 amazing cards to bid on. Jeremy, you've been a helping Slab Sharks collector. You've been helping collectors consign with Slab Sharks for a few months, right?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Cool. Well, I just think it's crazy in a couple years they've really become one of the very biggest auctions in all the hockey hobby. And we talk about why, we think that they've grown so fast and that they've been so adopted in Canada by collectors. But given you are Canadian and you are affiliated with them, we'd just love to hear your perspective on, how has Slab Sharks done this in 2 years?
Well, first off, they saw a void in the market up here after being present at the Sport Card Expo, time after time. Karn, who really leads the company, as far as I understand, he's got a great team there of founders, but I think he's the driving force. And so saw the void and decided to fill it. And, there was no competition in Canada to do what he's doing, what they've been doing. And then they just Karn was also very well connected. They went and I think they acquired a large Facebook group. So it all started with branding and marketing. Acquired a large Facebook group, got their name out there, started really grassroots with personal connections. Even like myself, I've been consigning to them for almost 2 years now, since they really started. And, I started talking about it. They aligned with you guys. You guys talk about it. They had really impressive setups at all, even though it just gets more and more impressive. even at the first time they had a very impressive setup at the Sport Card Expo. I love the brand. I love that logo we're looking at right now. I think it's just amazing. The colors are great. You know, they have Slab Sharks jerseys for the team and the regional directors, of which I am in for Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think that they saw the need, the opportunity, capitalized. And the other thing is that all the profits they earn, they pump right back into building the back end system, and anything else that they need to do to elevate the brand. They've got the app, they've got the website, and if you have consigned to them, you know just how slick that is. They also really take care of the customers. They just did, with the Canada Post strike, they found a way to really rise above that and help the consigners and the buyers to make sure that they still get their cards. And I love that the auctions are, you just know it. It's Thursday to Thursday. They give the buyers until the following Tuesday to pay. Consigners get paid out the next Wednesday, which isn't today Wednesday. Today the consigners today is payout to all the consigners. It's just a nice, really slick, efficient system that they've built, and I think that they built it really well. I'm very impressed. I'm super proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, the thing I would add to that is I believe they really care about the details. I'm a person that really cares about the details. I think you're a person that really appreciates the details as well, Jeremy. I see that in everything that you do, and it really shows that they want to serve every customer to the best of their ability in every case. And so I guess I hit up Jeremy Lee if you're in Alberta. What is it? Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan? Is that what you said?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not limited to those territories. I can help you wherever you are. But and one other thing that I look, and thanks for the opportunity, Josh. But for me, I look at it as a serious thing where I want to help people. I want to be your point of contact. I want to help talk about your collection and what cards are best to sell and when, and all these things. I kind of want to be an advisor, a point of contact, and the affiliate for people who are looking to sell cards.
Well said. So for complete consignment info, including payout rates, and to start the process today, head to slabsharks.com. Happy news!
Hobby news.
Do I have to do that too?
Yeah.
I didn't have to do it last time, but I'm happy to do it this time.
Oh, no. It's a requirement. We just screwed up.
Okay. Let's see. Well, oh boy. I feel
in your own way. Just in your
I
own
got to
way.
tell you, I've been on the Gong Show several times. Now, this right now is the most pressure I have ever felt. I've never had anxiety to sit here with you fellas in the past. Going back to the master class, never felt the hobby news.
Love it. There you go. Wait.
I just had to catch myself off guard.
Okay. Not a lot going on in hobby news, but there is one thing I wanted to cover with you being here, Jeremy, because I thought you would have great insight into it, and it's your team. So, we're going to do, me and Bob Louie, a little scouting based on your report here about our team. Because we have the Four Nations coming up this February. I believe on Wednesday, December 4th, we're going to have the final rosters announced, but NHL.com came out with their projected Team Canada roster for the Four Nations tournaments. We're going to go through and get Jeremy Lee's reaction to that and how he feels about his team at the forward group, defense, and then looking at the goalies. So we're going to start with the forwards for Team Canada. There's 13 forwards on each team. Those are highlighted by Matthew Barzal from the Islanders, Bedard, Crosby, Travis Konechny of the Flyers, Alexis Lafreniere from the Rangers, McKinnon, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner, McDavid, Braden Point, Sam Reinhart from the Florida Panthers, Mark Scheifele in the Jets, and then Mark Stone in the Golden Knights. So my first comment and sort of question is, well, if you talk about a potential line of Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, and Nathan McKinnon, oh man, how do you get any better than that, huh?
It's oh my.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
Would you play them on a line if you were coach, GM of the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Effing rights, I would. How do you not? I mean, this is the only time you can ever do that, barring an all-star game, I guess, which doesn't count. It's not competitive. So yeah, I think the world would want to see that. I mean, you're talking about, 3 goats. How do you not? That is exciting. That's exciting.
And you would assume in that case that McDavid and McKinnon defer to Crosby at center there, right?
Yeah, I think Crosby is the leader. He is the leader. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I saw the talk about, oh, how does McDavid feel with, or McDavid said Crosby should be the captain. Of course, McDavid says that. McDavid's a
Yeah.
smart guy, and he respects the game and the history and who came before him. Crosby came before him. Crosby has led Canada to gold. He's led the Pittsburgh Penguins to Stanley Cups. McDavid just hasn't. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all by that, and I love it. I think it's what Canadians want to see.
Mm-hmm. Does Bedard deserve a spot on the team at this point?
No, he does not. I don't think he does. Listen, I don't mind him being there, but I would, this might be sort of arguable, controversial. I can't believe Steven Stamkos isn't there. Now you think, well, his season has been terrible so far. Yeah, but that team is terrible so far. He's in a new system. Steven Stamkos, a few years ago, you could have said Crosby, Stamkos, McDavid, or Crosby, Stamkos, McKinnon. It would have been the same thing. Like, oh my gosh, we have to see that. So, I would. I don't think that Bedard has earned his place there. However, he's young. He's the future. Maybe he's the future, best Canadian player outside of McDavid. And so you get him in there for the experience to rub shoulders with this guys. Maybe it helps his career move forward a little bit. I don't know. I think that it could be a great experience for him, whereas Stamkos probably just wants to focus on, reviving his career in Nashville. So it still may be the right thing for everybody.
Yeah, I'll maybe jump on the controversial side a little bit. It's a much smaller sample size, of course, but if you just look at this year, maybe Macklin Celebrini deserves to be on the team more than Connor Bedard.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not wrong.
He's producing.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, Bedard is not having a good year. I mean, not even for anyone's standards, really. So, yeah, Macklin Celebrini, that would be exciting to see a guy like that on there who's having a nice season this year in San Jose.
Is there anyone else that you can think of, any other Canadian hockey players that you don't see on this list of 13 that maybe surprises you a little bit?
Well, I'm sort of cheating as I look at an article right now. And so I'm not surprised that Zach Hyman isn't there. And I'm a big Sam Bennett is mentioned. I don't know that he gets on the 13 forwards, but I'm a big fan of Sam Bennett, back to his days in Calgary when he used to dominate the Colorado Avalanche when they'd come to town. And now, of course, winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, he's a great player, but you have Tkachuk there, or, you're not there in Florida. I think actually Sam Bennett could match up a little, not completely, but he's a gritty player like Tkachuk. They might need that to go against Tkachuk. Plus, he knows Tkachuk. They're on the same team. So that's all that comes to mind for me, but I'm sure there's others. Who comes to mind for you, Josh?
Well, that's what I was just thinking around the grit. And I don't know, if this is going to be like a pure finesse tournament, right? Then because when you look at these 13, you don't see a lot of, well, there's Marchand a little bit, but he's not a real big guy. You don't see a ton of grit. Like a Sam Bennett's a perfect guy that you're talking about, who can play an offensive game, but can go in there and be physical when you need to be.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. I was so just the way my setup is, I have my camera sitting in front of the screen, so I can't see it all. I had to look over there because I didn't see Marner on there, but he's on there, of course. That's why I said, so that's all that comes to mind for me. Yeah. I like the lineup up front for Canada a lot. I have some issues when we make our way backwards on the ice.
Gotcha. Yeah, so let's go then to the defensemen. So each team gets 7 defensemen for their lineup. The ones projected right now by the NHL are Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers, Dougie Hamilton from the Devils, Cale Makar, which is the obvious one, from Colorado, Josh Morrissey in Winnipeg, Alex Pietrangelo, Vegas, Shea Theodore in Vegas, and Devin Taves from Colorado. You feel pretty confident about your back end, or no?
Yeah, I do. I mean, listen, Cale Makar, right there. You're doing really well. Dougie Hamilton, he's a great kind of guy to have back there. He can move the puck, he can shoot. Evan Bouchard is a concern right now, of course, just based on, just like Zach Hyman doesn't show up on those top 13 because did he just literally disappear? Like, what is going on with this guy? Bouchard has started to come around. Morrissey, I like Morrissey a lot. Peter Pietrangelo, great player. Shea Theodore is great. Devin Taves is great. I do like that lineup for D. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Petrangelo and Theodore if they pair them too with their familiarity, and they're just such rock solid. Vegas, that's a big part of their system, right? Is being tough on the defensive end. And so that can be really helpful when you have Crosby, McDavid, and McKinnon flying around on the front end of the ice right there. So now we get to the interesting part. The goalies. So the three projected goalies by the NHL for Team Canada are Logan Thompson from the Washington Capitals, Aiden Hill from the Vegas Golden Knights, and then Cam Talbot from the Detroit Red Wings. It's almost hard to believe when you see that this can't be the best three Canadian goalies.
Yeah. It's a sad state of affairs. That is where Canada is the weakest. And it's almost embarrassing, because Canada's always been the strongest in goal for so long. I mean, up there, Russia's had some great goalies as well, of course, but Canada has just been so good in net for so many decades. And now, I mean, that is just it's a sad state of affairs, really, with these three guys. I don't have the faith in any of them. Actually, so then, other people who have been mentioned are Jordan Binnington, Sam Montembeault, Stuart Skinner. Obviously, Skinner I don't think he's the guy. I don't know how he had his season last year was great at times. Binnington's a bit of a head case, I believe. I'm not sure. He might be the best of all these guys potentially, but the one player that I would like to see we haven't mentioned yet, who I'd be the most confident in. Any guesses? Any guesses on who I would love to see there?
Demko?
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh. Yeah, why not Flower?
Maybe he's too old. I don't know why not, but that's the guy that I think would be the bet. He's seen international competition. He's got the experience. He's a rise to the occasion kind of guy. Every other player we've talked about has had their struggles, and just I mean, Cam Talbot, he's not.
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking Cam Talbot.
And nothing against Cam Talbot. I mean, he's actually having an okay season. I know because I have him. I picked him up as I have a pretty deep fantasy league I'm in, and I have him, so I'm watching him. But that said, I would pick Marc-Andre Fleury. That would be my pick, and I think we'd have a better chance with him than any of those other guys.
Oh, and have him and Sid on the team together. I think that would really ratchet up the positive vibes and happy feels around the Canadian hockey fans too for that, right? I think they would rally around him.
Yeah, and along that line, those lines also on D, you could consider there could be an argument to bring Chris Letang in. Yeah, right. But I'm not saying that he's playing better than the other guys that are in there right now, and he isn't. I like the D quite a bit, actually. I like the forwards. I like the D. It's goaltending that if Canada doesn't win, and I want to listen, I think the Americans are phenomenal. Can we look? Are we going to look at the American lineup at all?
I don't think they've released it yet. They just did Canada, so I think NHL's doing it every. Okay. Yeah, I would have loved to done a comparison, but I mainly wanted to go through this now because you're here and that you can give that, Canadian hockey fan perspective on this, which is, I think, very valuable.
Yeah, I just found a list of players that were snubbed for Team Canada. Verhaeghe, Suzuki, Horvat. Tavares is another one that came to mind for me actually a bit ago, but I guess he's just sort of buried in Toronto now. that's it. But I'd like to, I just found a projected US
Okay.
roster, and not to take any
No,
thing
let's
away
go.
from the
Let's go.
future.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is projected: Gensel, Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes, Jason Robertson, Tage Thompson, JT Miller, Chris Kreider, Dylan Larkin, Brady Tkachuk. Like, that lines up pretty good against Canada. And Canada with McDavid is obviously, and McKinnon are both maybe the best of all those, but still, that's a really nice group of forwards. Defense: Quinn Hughes, McAvoy, Adam Fox, Slavin, Werenski, and Faber. That's pretty solid as well. There's only 6 there. And then, but the goaltenders, Hellebuck and Ottinger. I mean, that's it right there. And Swayman is another one. Boldy, Neil Pionk, the defenseman in Winnipeg. I mean, I don't know how. The thing about Hellebuck, I guess, and he should be the number one guy, is that he has been inconsistent in the past. He could win the Vezina and the Hart this year. Who knows? So now might be the worst year of all to have this tournament for the Canadians if Hellebuck is on his game. So, yeah.
Do you think Hellebuck maybe not be a big game player? Could that be it?
Well, I don't listen. I mean, he hasn't had to play in any real big games yet in his career with Winnipeg. So, like, how
he got
far
crushed by Edmonton in the playoffs last year?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This might be the determining factor. If he can stun Team Canada in this tournament, then I think that, all the money is going to go on the Jets to win the Stanley Cup and him to win the Vezina, maybe the Hart. So I'm very scared of the Americans in this tournament as a fan of Team Canada.
What last thing on the Four Nations, is there what's the potential that this is a lift to the hobby too, this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think well, first of all, you don't have all the players in the league playing, so it's going to be limited to guys like, if for example, if Alexis Lafreniere is the MVP or something like that, that could have a nice effect on a career like that. Sam Reinhart's a guy who is obviously a top player in the league right now, doesn't get a ton of hobby love, except maybe from me and a couple other people. And, if he has a great tournament amongst the best of the best, that's the key here, right? Whoever shines that you're not expecting, we expect McDavid to shine, you expect some of these guys to, especially you expect Austin Matthews, you want him to shine, Jack Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk. But if one of these like third or fourth line guys really shine, like a Dylan Larkin perhaps, or whoever on Team Canada, like I don't know, like I said, a Reinhardt, Scheifele, if any of these guys can really shine amongst the best of the best, you could see a lift in their hobby stock.
That's a good segue to what I was going to ask. What do you really think we're going to see out of this? You have so many good players on each team, all out on the ice at the same time. What are we really going to see? It's like watching an all-star game, but not a 3-on-3.
Well, to me, Louis, that's the key point. If it's like loaf around the ice and, play tummy sticks with everyone and screw around and not care, then it's going to be awful. But if these guys really want it and play like it's the Stanley Cup Finals or like the Olympics or the World Championships or something like that, then I think that will hook I think it'll be as good as the players take it seriously. What do you think, Jeremy?
So I think it's a great question too, because we don't really know. I mean, it's inter-season, right? So GMs are going to say, hey guys, go have fun, but don't get hurt.
Yep.
So there's that. Now I don't see on these projected rosters any big, tough, dirty hitting sort of players. So maybe it'll be a game, a game of respect between these professionals. I hope it is. But we want to see competition. If it's not competitive, if they're not giving it their best, don't do it again. It's just a glorified all-star game, like you said, and that's not good for the sport. I don't think it has to be competitive. Now, I heard somebody in the media, it might have been Elliot Friedman, I forget who, talking about this exact topic, and they said that I think he said he was talking to Mitch Marner about it, and Mitch Marner had said, I'm looking forward to this. This is important. We want to win. Like, so that little hint made me think that maybe this will be competitive, and it won't just be like an all-star game. They will give it their all. And I think that's what we want. Otherwise, I'm not going to watch, like, I might not even want to watch it if it's not I don't watch the all-star game. I'll watch the skills competition. That's kind of fun. But the all-star game is just boring as heck, right? It's a joke. This, I hope I want to watch it. Yeah.
And the flip side of that, as much as we want it to be cool and competitive and we want to get sucked into it, it would stink if, like, God forbid, if like McDavid went down for the year, with an injury, and then people are gonna be like, really, the Four Nations? Now we don't get our guy for the whole rest of the season, kind of thing, right? So there's that side to consider, I think, as well.
Yeah. I just want to watch good players go balls to the walls at this. It'd be so fun to see.
Yeah.
And if it is successful, I want them to add more teams. I want it, we just talked about like JJP. There's so many good German players right now. You've got Draisaitl, you've got JJP, you've got Seider, you've got other guys too, and let alone
Draisaitl.
Yeah,
Did you say that?
I think I said Leon. Politics aside, you'd love to see the Russian players be able to play in international and some of these other teams too. So yeah, hopefully it works out. Well, we're gonna try. It is today. Our show comes out. It's Thanksgiving here in the U.S. We're gonna let Jeremy be an honorary American for a few minutes and participate in Thanksgiving with us. Of course, it's a time here for family. Too much turkey, maybe too much family. Early Black Friday deals. But it's also, I think, a good time for reflection. We're coming up, of course, on the end of the year. It's a good time to reflect on where you are personally. I think a lot of people do that at this time. Also, a good time to reflect on all that you have to be thankful for. And so I thought we here on a Team Gong Show would take a minute or two and just share give our hobby thanks, what we're thankful for in this hockey hobby that we love. So I'll go first. And there's me. I'm thankful for being part of a community that I really love and enjoy every day, and that we've been accepted, in the ability to make this show that we really enjoy doing. It was very scary for Troy and I, Jeremy, when people started listening to us in Canada. We were like, oh God, how's this going to go? It's your sport, right? And here we are, a bunch of dopes from the Twin Cities. And, so I'll forever be grateful for that perspective. Also very thankful for our listeners and supporters, of course. We have Discord members now with many I consider to be friends, contributors of our show with Jeremy at the very top of that list, who have helped us make a difference, I hope, in this hobby. Our Chateau Gong Show crew for being, I guess, our best hobby buds. We met through the show. We wouldn't know them if it wasn't for it and from going to the expo. I'm thankful for Phil, even though he ditched us for a girl. It's okay, Phil. We know where we stand, but I'm still thankful for you. I'm thankful for Baba Louie for being the best Baba Louie a guy could ask for, and for producing the crap out of our shows. And then I got to mention Troy, of course, for starting this journey with me and still being my best friend and helping to make everything possible. And then friends and sponsors for helping us pay for this Gong Show too. I'm thankful for my cardboard pictures of sweaty men, which I think are very cool. And I'm just very grateful for the hobby, and I'm really grateful. And I'll throw you another flower, Jeremy, to be aligned and friends with people like you that generally we look to uplift the hobby as opposed to tearing it down, which would be, very easy to do because there's, lots of stuff to complain about, rightfully so in many cases. But I think there's more in this hobby that is, better than bad. So thanks. I'm grateful. Now it's Jeremy's turn.
All right. Well, first of all, I just wanted to respond to a couple things there. First, on behalf of Canadians like me, you say it's our sport, but we'll see, especially in this Four Nations competition, whose sport it is after that. But you guys the Gong Show is, to me, has become a key piece of the hockey card hobby. You guys have done such a great job, and have been welcomed with open arms, as I know by me, and I just know what I see out there, and I hope that you realize that, recognize it, and have been feeling it, and I think you have been. So I'm happy for that. And you said, sort of making a difference in the hobby, JJP. I think you have made. I did.
Oh, geez.
I think
JJP.
you guys have definitely. I see it. People tell me you guys have made a difference in the hobby. I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for being here today with you guys, talking about this hobby we all love. I'm thankful to the people who put in the work organizing and promoting card shows that bring us together in person, physically in person. We can sit here virtually and collaborate on content, but meeting in person is such a great way to really take our friendships and relationships to the next level. I want to just say I'm also thankful to everyone who comes out to the networking events that I plan and promote, the Expo, the Van City Card Show. Those are really important. And, as far as building the community, and I'm glad that people come out and support that. I'm thankful to my wife for her support in what I do, all the time that I spend sitting right here, preparing and creating content. Thankful for my kids who give me real meaning in life and keep me young. And finally, I am truly, truly thankful for the discrepancies between technical grades and eye appeal.
Yeah, you've made a living off of that, haven't you? Figuring that trick out. You like your Thanksgiving festive apparel there on screen? You see that?
I love it. That's the stash that I'm going for right now. I'm definitely gonna have to dye that. But coincidentally, I do have that hat on order from Amazon right now.
Oh, nice, great,
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Baba Louie, what are you thankful for?
First, I have to start off right where Jeremy was and thank my wife, my family for allowing me to help create and be a part of this journey. Especially, with the time that's involved to put on this show. And I think we do a heck of a good job with it. I also probably should thank Josh's wife, Jenny, for tolerating me as much as I'm in and out of their house with whatever it is we got to do. I'm thankful for the friendships that, this journey, being part of this podcast, has brought forward to me. Jeremy, Johnny, Karen, and, just everybody in the Discord, the Chateau Gongshow family, and all the friends I've made with that. It goes into being thankful for those who support us and see our vision and what we're trying to bring to the hockey hobby. I'm also thankful for the United States Postal Service and thankful for Taco Bell's $1 craving menu.
I'm sorry, what?
That's pretty good.
I guess for you and
Go ahead.
you and Phil too, Josh, and Troy.
Yeah. One thing that I want to just piggyback on what Jeremy and both you, Baba Louie, have said too, is that I think you made a really good point on the in-person events, the shows. Like that's really where, like, you kind of get to know each other online, whether you're like chatting through Instagram or you see a face on YouTube or something like that. But I feel like all my friendships have come from those in-person interactions, and that's such a huge part of being in this hobby. And so I really always encourage people, if you haven't taken that leap yet, to go do that and introduce yourself to someone you recognize at a show. And it's just amazing how receptive and nice people are in this hobby.
Can I add one more, Josh?
Yeah.
I don't want to overlook, as a fellow content creator with my own Sports Cards Live platform, I don't want to overlook the supporters that I've had, the loyal viewers and listeners, collaborators, guests. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without all of them tuning in, and the outpouring of support that I receive. It's just so awesome. So I'm thankful. I thank them almost every time I go live, but I just want to say it here right now, just how And I know you probably said it yourself. It's just wonderful, and I'm very, very thankful for that.
That's what I realized at the Toronto Expo this year. It's the outpouring of support from people is amazing. What they'll do
Cool.
for you.
And
It's
when
awesome.
some of them turn into like real friends. By that I mean people that you introduce to your family, you have over when you're in the same cities or they travel, and that sort of thing. It's so cool to. I recently had someone from the community over to my house for supper with my wife and kids when he had his fiance with him, and I mean that doesn't happen without these podcasts and these audiences, and that's it's enhanced. I'm going to say this has enhanced our lives so much more than just collecting cardboard, which we're grateful for the cards too, but it's the enhancement to our lives is something that I know I'm grateful for, and I'm sure I'm speaking for you guys too.
Very well said,
sir.
Well, enough with the sappiness. I don't want to cry. Need a pause to cry. I'm very, very excited to continue next the series that Jeremy started his last time on our show. A sort of a it'll go on for a little bit, and it's a lot of what we try to do here is take a comprehensive as much as we can look at the hobby, and this is just another great angle to do that. Where last time you were here, you started with the your series, the 5 hockey cards that defined each decade, and we looked at the very first set in the 1910s, and now we're ready to move on with the 1920s, and you always have just fantastic information and insight. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, Jeremy, to let's look at the 1920s.
All right, I'm excited. The 1920s was an interesting decade for cards. It was not quite as simple as the 1910s, when we only had the 3 Imperial Tobacco C Series cards, which we got to look at earlier with the Cyclone Tailors that you had on the screen. But the 1920s, we move out of tobacco and into candy cards, and we really kick off the decade with the 1923-24 William Patterson set, which was the first set we'd had in 10 years, which is pretty amazing. So that set, to me, ever since I learned, decades ago about pre-war cards, that set was always very interesting to me. It's somewhat similar to the C57 set, Louis, that we talked about. Why did they kind of get worse in terms of production quality? The William Patterson, which is the V145-1 set, it doesn't look much different, except that the cards are bigger. They're a lot bigger than the C57s. There's the second year of them. They came out again in 1924, the V145-2s, which were basically the same cards, just a little bit skinnier, a little bit narrower edge to edge, but otherwise almost the exact same, with in I think many, if not all cases, the same images. That I can't verify. Maybe Bobby Burrell watching can leave a comment and help us out with that, or anyone else. But so when I looked at this and I thought, what are the 5 cards that define that decade? I find myself picking 4 out of those 5 cards from that first set, from the 1923 V145-1 Patterson set. And we're going to start off with card number 15, and I'm going in order of importance as per my ranking. And we're going to start with card number 15, the Howie Morenz that you see in front of you right now. And let's start off with the population information to get an idea of just how tough these cards are. Total submissions to PSA of this Howie Morenz rookie card. All 4 cards we're looking at here are rookie cards of, early Hall of Famers, somewhat pioneers. 63 submissions total have been made to PSA. 38 of those, so more than half, are graded between an authentic and a 3.5. Between the grades of 4 and 5, you have 22 cards, and you have 3 PSA 6s with none higher. There's no 6.5, no 7s, 8s, 9s, or 10s. So that's pretty crazy. A few things about him, and I didn't, I have a few notes on these players without taking anything away from your to know Hall of Famers. But he was known as hockey's first superstar. He was known originally as the Mitchell Meteor, then the Stratford Streak, and finally the Canadian Comet. He died in 1937 after complications from a bad leg injury, and the hockey world was stunned. He was in the inaugural Hall of Fame class in 1945, and in 1950 he was voted the best hockey player of the first half century by a national press poll. And finally, when you look at PSA set registry weightings, and not every, we all have heard about the PSA set registry, but when you are working on a PSA set registry set, different cards have different weightings. And this is something really interesting to gauge the importance of a card. And I share this with anybody who might not have been aware. So the PSA set registry for this Howie Morenz is a 10. It's a maximum 10, by the way. And which set registry? Well, that's the Hall of Fame rookies set registry. And it's the one with everybody, the players, builders, and referees.
I have never heard of the set registry weight in my life until 25 seconds ago.
And I think, Josh, it's something that you could add to your toolbox when you are doing analyses and that. And it you can just find it on their website, and I can help you get there quickly if you want a link. So that's card number one. I consider this to be the most important card of the 20s. I also consider this to be among the top two most important pre-war hockey cards with the C55 George Vezina rookie. This is just not, it's not as well known. There is no Morenz trophy like there is Vezina. And if there was, this may be considered to be, maybe even a better card, a more important card. So keep your eyes on this particular card, guys. I love it. Okay, next up from the same set, the 1923 V145-1 William Patterson set is this Aurel Joliat. It's card number 14. PSA submission history total of only 53 submissions versus 63 that we just saw for Howie Morenz. Between authentic and a PSA 3.5, there are 26. So that is right about half. Between a PSA 4 and a 5, we have 20 total. There are 5 cards graded 6 and 6.5, and then there's one PSA 7 and one PSA 8, which is interesting considering there are no PSA 7s or 8s for the Morenz that we just saw. Maybe because Morenz was a more popular player and the kids would play with them more. Joliat formed one of the original dynamic duos in hockey history with Howie Morenz. He was among lead leaders in goals for 12 or so seasons. And I say that because he played in various leagues. He played his whole NHL career, though, with the Montreal Canadiens. He was a Hall of Fame inductee in its second class of 1947. There was no 1946 Hall of Fame class. And his PSA set registry weighting in the Hall of Fame set is a 9. So very, very high as well.
I think I mentioned this on our last show, but the image that we use as kind of like our main photo for our Get to Know Your Hall of Famers series is a picture of Aurel Joliat looking at Howie Morenz's empty locker after he passed away, and how crestfallen he was with the death of Morenz. And I'd read that I think that really prompted Joliat to retire from hockey. He was so beat up about the situation.
I read that myself. So yes, very much on the same page as you with that one, Josh.
Yeah, there's the image right there. Just to take a sneak peek at for people to see that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I was just saying great context for it, because you show this picture every time you do one of your Hall of Fame segments, and people might see it but not really know. I'm glad that my segment here right now added context to what this really is.
It's kind of a dramatic photo once you understand the period and the players and the history and kind of what the result of Morenz's death was. That's why I like the photo so much.
Wondering if this is this karma for us, Josh? How many times has he come up now since we took 4 minutes to figure out how to say his name?
Oh, yeah. Bobby corrected us last night when we were recording Masterclass. He's like, just so you know, it's Aurel Joliat. I was like, oh, okay. Ariel. It says Ariel.
Joliat.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll let you continue.
All right. We are now 2 of 5 through our top 5 of the 20. So card number 3, also from the 1923 V145-1 Patterson set, is Frank King Clancy. Another great card, a great name. Who doesn't want to have their name being King? Anyway, total PSA submissions of this card are 69. So that's the most that we've seen so far. 63 Morenz, 53 Joliat, 69 for King Clancy. 45 of those cards grade between authentic and 3.5. There's 19 between a 4 and a 5. There are 4 between 6 and 6.5. There's 1 PSA 7, none higher. Joliat played from 1921 to 1937 for the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was in the Hall of Fame class of 1958, and every year a trophy of in his name is awarded to a player known for charitable community work, which I think is just a wonderful thing. And his PSA set registry weighting in the Hall of Fame set is 9. So the same as Joliat and 1 less than Morenz. And set weightings in the PSA set registry, the weightings are not just how good the player was. It can also be determined by how hard the card is to find in good shape. So, first or last card will be higher because they're most often damaged, but it can be used. If you're not a first or last card, or you're not a short print, it is a good way to sort of, assess a player's importance.
Hey, Louis, do you know why the first and last card are most often damaged?
Humor me.
Kids would keep them in stacks. And then, the first
out of the packs and stuff. Yeah.
out of the set, like they would complete the set and then keep them in stacks in number order.
Sure.
Right. 1 to whatever, 36
Probably
or whatever.
Rubber band them or something, or.
Yeah.
Rubber bands.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. And back then, I mean, you look to the, in any sport, the 50s forward, you have hundreds of cards in a set. So it was a bit different. But back then, and even in the 80s, I remember doing my sets, I just have 3 stacks with elastics to accommodate all 396 cards in those old O-Pee-Chee sets. But in any event, back to the task at hand. We're going to move on to card number 4, the last one from the V145-1 Patterson set. And that is going to be of none other than Jack Adams, card number 24, with a total PSA submissions of 54. Again, that's 69 for Clancy, 53 for Joliat, and 63 for Morenz. I just want to keep that top of mind. 29 of those cards graded up to a 3.5, 19 between a 4 and a 5.5, 5 between a 6 and a 6.5. No PSA 7s, but there's 1 lone PSA 8 with none higher. Jack Adams played for the Toronto Arenas and the Toronto St. Pats, the Vancouver Millionaires, and the Ottawa Senators. He's credited with discovering and mentoring Gordie Howe into the player he became. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, he was a inductee into the Hall of Fame class of 1959. The Adams division, prior to the renaming of the divisions in the NHL based on geography, is named after this man in front of you right now, Jack Adams, and his PSA set registry weight is also a 9. So another really the Patterson set is such a great set. There's a Vezina in there. There's a Joe Malone. It's a set with many great players. But these 4 that we just highlighted to me are the key they're the 4 key cards of the 20s. And then after that, it gets a little bit harder, but we'll get to the 5th one in just a moment, unless you guys have any comments or questions.
No, it all makes sense. And what I really appreciate about you doing this on our show is, if you're not a vintage expert, and there aren't a lot to begin with, when you look at a decade and all the different options out there, it is kind of hard to find that reference point as to, okay, what are the tent poles? What are the cards that, you need to know first, and then you can kind of fill around the edges from there.
Yeah. Now, the 5th and final card was a tougher one to get to, but it became quite obvious to me once I contemplated it. And that is a 1924 V128 Paulins George Hainsworth. And this is a very difficult card. Now, this card is a little bit different than the Pattersons we saw. Pattersons were redeemable for premiums, but we do see some with hole punches or that sort of thing to signal that they were redeemed by the collectors for whatever they could send them in for. But in this Paulin set, we have more redeemed cards in the hobby. So you have a hole punch variation, you have a stamp variation, or you have an unredeemed, just a clean variation. The one that you see on your screen right now is the stamp variation. If you saw the back of the card, which I could show you because that happens to be my card, I can show you what the back looks like with a stamp. Is that something you'd like to see now, Josh? Or
sure.
Yeah.
let's Sure. So here's the card that was in the picture, but there's you can see a very light stamp was sort of put. You see that just on the top there? Yeah. That just meant that the card was redeemed. And I like that because it just shows that the card lived a life. It was, utilized to its full potential by whoever had it. And I love stamp redemptions. Hole punches I don't like as much because you're actually missing a part of the card. I like the stamp redemptions. In any event, between all three versions, redeemed, stamp, and hole punch, there have been 55 submissions to PSA of this card. 41 of them between an authentic and a 3.5, 41 of 55, only graded up to 3.5. 13 then between a 4 and a 5.5, and there's only 1 6, and there's none higher. And this is cumulative across all three sort of variations, if you will. So a super tough card. And people often mistakenly consider Hainsworth's rookie to be, I think, in the 1933 sets, where you have 3 or 4 different sets. But if you dig deeper, this is the one that I believe to be his rookie card. It's also the one that appears in the PSA set registry, the Hall of Fame set registry, which, since I'm talking about it now, I'll skip ahead and say it does have a registry weighting of 9. So one under the maximum, just like those other 3 guys. Yeah. So George Hainsworth played for the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs. He only allowed 43 goals in 44 games with 22 shutouts in the 1928 season with the Habs. Just amazing. Like that's less than a goal a game. That's and crazy. half of the games he had shutouts. I mean, imagine somebody getting 41 shutouts in today's NHL. This is pretty cool, though. He won the Vezina Trophy the first 3 times it was ever awarded. I think that's super cool.
He took over for Vezina after Vezina died, right?
Yes. And I believe that Jacques Plante took over for him. So
wow.
I believe you go Plante,
what a continuation of goalie.
Plante, Vezina, Hainsworth, Plante, Dryden, Patrick Waugh, Carey Price. I mean, there's a few other guys in between there a little bit, but yeah.
Montembeault.
Sorry. Right? And all Canadian, and you look at who Canada has for their team in this upcoming tournament. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the class of 1961. And I did have a conversation. Somebody sent me some feedback, Josh, recently on the first installment of the top 5 cards per decade. And literally last week, someone said they listened and really liked it. And I said, I'm going to be doing the 20s soon. This is before you invited me. I said, we'll be doing the 20s soon. And he said, here's who I would suggest. And we were on the same page for 4 of the 5. And then I said, well, here would be I was on his page for 4 of the 5. And then I sent him mine. I said, what do you think of this? He said, yeah, I agree. So I did have buy-in from at least one person out there who listens or watches the podcast. So there you go. Those are my top 5 of the 1920s.
Well, the more and more sorry, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, you go ahead, Louis. I want to hear what you have to say.
Between our Hall of Fame stuff, you doing this, I might have to make some sort of a change. I want to have 1, 2, 5 of these cards, older cards in hand. I'm starting to appreciate it a lot more now that I know more about them. So I don't know. My collecting style might change.
You just said it. You can't appreciate it until you understand it, until you know about it. And that's, a commitment that I've wanted to make through our show, in addition to talking about the Connor McDavid Young Guns and Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard's, which we all love too, is to really try to tell the story of the history of the game. And because I think that just makes you appreciate the hobby as a whole, even if you don't end up collecting vintage. When you understand it, I think you can appreciate it better.
Absolutely.
And the cards are awesome. And I just want to say, Louis, to you, and I'm not saying that you were feeling this way at all, but I think it's so it's just such a good feeling to be able to expand your horizons. And I say to any collector, don't think that just because you come out of the gate saying I collect this or that you have to stick to it. I mean, I've been doing this hobby for 44 years now, and I'm still finding new ways to approach the hobby, and I'm executing thereon, and I love it. It keeps me so interested and engaged. So do it stay within your budget, of course, but don't be afraid to ever step outside your comfort zone or where you might have declared yourself to be in the hobby.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
very well said.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for the 30s. We're learning a little bit more of the 30s. We know it gets a lot more dynamic, and there's the gum companies go wild, and it's not going to be as straightforward as it probably was in the 1910s and 20s. So it'll be great to see what you come up with that soon. And thank you again for taking us on this journey with you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, new product releases. So our new product releases segment is brought to you by our partners and friends at Mint Ink. Remember today, Thursday, the nutty guys at Mint Ink, they're doing this 24-hour sell-a-thon or engage-a-thon, whatever they're calling it, on all platforms. So be sure to peek in, as I know there's going to be some great deals to be had. Nobody has more energy than the guys at Mint Ink, Jeremy. I don't think that's even humanly possible.
Nobody has more energy than Johnny.
Johnny.
Than Johnny. Yes, there you go. He's a treasure. I love Johnny so much.
Me too.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what they've got going on there. They'll also be running a bunch of Black Friday deals on their website, mintink.ca. So be sure to check that out. For new product releases today, got two kind of quickie things that we're going to peek into. First is look at very early Engrained sales. So it's been out for just over a week now. Now, are you an Engrained fan in general? Do you appreciate the set, or is it one you don't typically collect, Jeremy?
There are a couple of inserts within that I absolutely love. The complete sticks with the autos.
Yes.
Love those. The ones without the autos. Anytime there's like some with, some without, I go with the ones with. In that case, I almost contradicted myself in something I collect, but in the case of those, I just love the autograph complete sticks. I also really love the design and aesthetics of the stick remnants that don't have autos on them. I think that those are just a beautiful way and an economical way to collect a gorgeous memorabilia card. And you can get it, again, economically, because there are no autos on those. So I love those two particular inserts.
Great. Yeah, I would agree with many of what you said. And, this set's about half and half for me. Half the stuff I really like, half of it is probably not for me. But to get a sense of how the hobby is responding to Engrained, which players are being chased, if anyone's spending big bucks on any cards, we'd like to do these early market check-ins right after it comes out. So today we're going to look at the top 5 very early sales from 2023-24 Engrained. And of course, remember, any sales made via eBay has been verified as paid for in Therapy. Okay, here we go. At number 5, we have one of your favorites, Jeremy, the Eric Lindros Complete Sticks Triple Relic Auto out of 25, sold for $299.99 by eBay on November 21st. I think it's a great looking card. And what I appreciate about these is you get 3 different components or of stick pieces of the stick, and they label them as such on the card.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, great card.
So well designed. And then nice use of hollow foil. Gorgeous.
Number 4 selling is 1 penny more. Bobby Orr Legendary Signature Shots Auto out of 10, sold by eBay for $300 US on November 22nd. So I have some questions about. Now, do you like the red ink on this card? Does that do it for you?
I do not like this card. No.
My biggest beef is it's a manufactured stick too.
Oh yeah, that I can get away. I can get around that personally. I just don't like the aesthetic. I understand the background is, I guess, a wood grain because it's an Engrained, but I just don't like the aesthetic of those. I would not collect those at all. Even if I liked the design, the aesthetic background, the fact that isn't a game use stick wouldn't bother me. I would be willing to overlook that.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for that. I don't know why. I can't defend it. It's just how I collect,
I'm a stickler when it comes to patches, but I, it's like those trilogy puck cards. Those aren't real pucks. They're just rubber in the card.
Yeah.
Right.
And I understand too, like technically there's an advantage because they can control the surface and make sure that the auto sticks, where you see a lot of like the real stick autos get kind of funky. Like when we were doing the Fanatics Weekly, there was the Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg last week. Right. The autos did not look great on those sticks, although they were real sticks, right? So you have those kind of trade-offs that come.
They didn't sand it down. Like you're already cutting the stick up. Sand it down. Like
yeah, there you go. I didn't think of that. All right, well, let's get back to something Jeremy, I think, loves. It's a Yarmir Yager, complete Jaeger, as Phil calls him. Complete sticks, triple relic auto out of 25. Sold for 400 US by eBay on November 20th. Probably the only complaint or I would just say someone have would be the Rangers thing, but I don't know. What do you think of the card?
I think it's gorgeous, but it's a different design than the Lindros. Or are one of these an update card or something like that?
Probably.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the card is beautiful. I love it. And I don't mind that Yager's on there. I mean, the guy played for like all 32 teams, so I have no issue with whatever team he's pictured on.
What I really appreciate about this card when I saw it is I don't know if I've seen a better auto of his.
It's beautiful
on a card.
Well struck.
There's a lot of space for him to use that space, and he really did here. Yeah, so I think this is a good buy for $400. I want to be.
Buy.
Number 2 highest on card is a Connor Bedard Synthesis Signatures Rookie Auto, sold for 769 US on November 25th via eBay. It's not a numbered card. There's 18 cards on the Synthesis Signatures checklist in 2023 Engrained. Pack odds to hit any of the 18 are 1 in 130 packs. So to hit any of the 30 players like this Bedard would be 1 in 540 pack odds. Kind of an interesting card. It's got like a carbon fiber design background, and then there's an insert, like the auto is on an like acetate. So like the auto part is see through. Yeah, I don't know what I think about this.
I think I could have bought the Lindros and the Yager for the same price as the Bedard and have, 2 Hall of Famers and some Stanley Cups and some mem pieces and some autos. Yeah.
That's a fantastic. And you'd have 70 or probably 100 Canadian in your pocket still. I mean, that's the crazy part.
Yeah, I can go to McDonald's and buy lunch. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how you'll react to the number 1 sale.
Sorry, I should have said Tim Hortons, considering they are in working with. Sorry, I can go to Tim Hortons and buy myself lunch, and you guys too. Sorry.
There you go. The number 1 card is a Mark Messier stick nameplate. It's 101, sold for $1,200 US via eBay on November 24th. It's a game used stick relic. There, the stick looks old and awesome. I don't know if I love the card design, but that relic piece I'm mesmerized by, and so I almost don't care what the card looks like.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, Upper Decks, they took property ofs out of the cup when Engrained came around and started putting them into Engrained and just, I guess, renaming them whatever they're called now. And it does remind me of a property of. I think that works for the card. The again, that color in the background, like this, this reminds me very closely of an unlicensed card made by Leaf. And I was
going to say President's Choice. Like I've got
President's Choice. Yeah, it looks like a President's Choice does. The images are such low quality, and Leaf has better quality. This is a decent quality image of Mark Messier. Like it's more high pixel, so it does have that over President's Choice, which is really mem and Photoshop. Pretty weak stuff. But yeah, this does not do it for me. I'm kind of glad, because I'm probably not going to have to chase any of these for myself. Even if there was a Solani or a Howard Chuck, I probably wouldn't even bother, because I just don't I don't care what the card is or what set it's from. If I don't like the looks of it, I'm probably not going to buy it unless, except for very few circumstances, which are usually based on really vintage pieces.
Mm-hmm. And a lot will change in this list, of course. This is only 1 week. A lot of product probably still hasn't been opened yet, and people haven't decided to sell their cards, that sort of stuff. But it is always interesting to peek in. And I don't know if it's just because there's such a tie into Legends here, but to have 1 Bedard card in the top 5 after a week is kind of crazy, because I don't think there's been a single time we've done this, Jeremy, for any 2023 product where all 5 cards haven't been Connor Bedard. Yeah. I feel like the whole Bedard thing's powering down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not going away, but just powering down.
Bedard is powered down, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Last little bit of new product releases. We did get an update from Upper Deck yesterday. Kind of looking ahead here. So we're still on track for December 11th for 2024-25 artifacts. And then a week after that, sorry to Phil's wallet, but 2023-24 Parker's Champions comes out. It'll be interesting to see what the follow-up is like on that. If it,
God, I hope it's as good as the last one.
yeah, that would be nice. And then I'm all sorts of confused by this Bruins anniversary hobby box that comes out on December 18th as well. And I just haven't looked into it enough, but there was a like this summer all the Bruins anniversary stuff came out. So I guess it's more Bruins anniversary. I don't know if that was like retail, if hobby is going to be different. I have no idea. But yeah. So I guess we'll have to learn about that. You have any idea?
No idea, and very little interest in it personally.
Yeah.
I mean, no interest in it personally, but hey, it's going to serve a market that is rabid for their cards. So I'm happy
100%.
for them. Great for that fan base.
All right, it's time to move on to Fanatics Collect. Fanatics is a Gongshow partner and sponsor. We're thankful for their support of our show. Now, Fanatics has a long heritage going back to the PWCC days of being a marketplace where you can buy some of really the biggest cards in all the hobby. And nobody would know that more than Jeremy Lee, who does the monthly premiere auction show. And for years now, you've seen $1 million cards kind of, get bought and sold there, because this is one of the places that these types of cards are sold. But it's not just the monster cards that are available on their platform. We've been talking about their partnership with Burbank Sports Cards and what that will mean to their buy now marketplace. Are you excited about that too? Are you interested to see how that kind of evolves as well?
Yeah, I'm certainly interested to see how that evolves and how the buy now marketplace grows as far as just frequency of visits by potential buyers and by fellow hobbyists. It's the one marketplace of the three on Fanatics Collect that I almost never visit, and I kind of forget about it. And I think that hopefully with the Burbank migration, that maybe it'll start to keep it more top of mind for myself and others. And I'm excited to see it grow. Now, I think Burbank is going to be throwing on a lot of low level cards. I want to see what all levels I'm sure going on there. It's millions and millions of cards, right? So yeah, I'm excited for it, Josh. I really am.
I think Fanatics has taken a smart approach to their buy now marketplace. I've talked to them a little bit about that. They recognize the inherent challenges in buy now marketplaces, especially in a service that includes a vault, right? Because back in the PWCC days, you could buy a $5,000 card, put it in your vault, and say, "Oh, what the heck? I'll just put it for $80,000 in the buy now marketplace." Why not? Right? Well, it sits there, and that really damages the integrity of a buy now marketplace. And so, the biggest challenge is getting people to list their cards with realistic prices. And so they've put in some guardrails there. They're putting time limits. They integrated with Card Ladder to show you what the market price is as a market price is for a card. And as a card buyer, that's helpful. It also puts pressure on the seller to make sure that they're listing their cards in the realm of what comparable sales are. And so I really applaud them for that efforts and would encourage everyone to, keep the buy now marketplace in mind as they continue to make those improvements. But finally, though, we got to talk about the weekly auction, which I know, with Jeremy and I, we know very well because we covered each week on Jeremy's YouTube channel, Sports Cards Live, Sunday nights starting this 8:30 Central. We're going to do Sunday night too. So we hope to see you all there. And as I guess a little primer or tease for the upcoming Fanatics Collect Weekly, the three of us have gone through the auction, each picked out a vintage and modern card that we want to highlight. And I'll start out quick with my favorite vintage card in this week's auction. Now, will this card make Jeremy Lee's top 5 of the 1930s? I guess we're going to have to find out. But I picked out a 1933 Worldwide Gum Ice Kings Hockey Ace Bailey. It's number 22. It's a PSA 6 condition. I wouldn't say I knew a ton about the 1933 Worldwide Gum Ice King set or Ace Bailey, but I do know it's a recognizable name from hockey's history, and so that got me interested in the card. Funny enough, I always think of Ace Frehley
Freely.
when I see Ace Bailey. Like I have to remind myself it's not Kiss, right? This is a hockey player. I don't know. I just think that's funny. Yeah, but this is the ace that played hockey for Phil's favorite team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Played 8 seasons from 1926 to 1933. Playing career ended as a result of severe injuries suffered in a fight during a game. It's kind of crazy. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And check this out too, guys. Ace Bailey is the first professional athlete to ever have his number retired.
Very cool.
Kind of a wild stat. The 1933 Worldwide Gum Ice Kings, it's the V357 set, featured 72 total hockey cards, including this Ace Bailey card, which is his rookie, even though it was released in the last year of his career, which kind of made me like go on a 2-minute mental tangent. Like, what if the hobby in some like bizarro world, like every player's rookie card was released like after they retired or in their last year? So you'd have like if Wayne Gretzky's rookie came out in 2000 or something like that, how that would change how people collect. But hockey sets were made sporadically in the pre-war era. They had more important things going on in the world at that time than hockey, like world wars. And so I guess this sort of stuff happened back then. Last sale of a 1933 Worldwide Gum Ace Bailey Ice Kings PSA 6 was $526 in October 2023. All-time high $800 in September 2022. Current bid $185. Now you're here. Do you have this card? Because I kind of always assume you do.
Yeah, no, I don't. I do have. So 1933 is a great year for hockey cards because there's I think 4 sets in the 1 year, and then it changes after that. So I don't have this. I do have his Canadian Gum set, which I prefer. That there's a picture of it right there. Same picture of Mr. Ace Bailey, but on a different, more color. And interestingly, I bought this card raw at a Cleveland National back in like 2011 or 12, something like that. Had it graded and came back as a 7, which is a really, really nice grade for a card from 1933. But not to flex my card any more than I just did. It's a great card. He's one of his cards will make, I'm sure, my top 5 1930s cards.
All right, let's see if I can get this now.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to see if I can name all 4 gum companies from 1933. So we have Worldwide Gum, Hamilton, O-Pee-Chee, and
Anonymous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just I don't think anyone ever figured out. I don't even think Bobby Burrell has figured out who made those cards. If Bobby can't do it,
okay. All right. What were you going to say, Bobby Lee?
After we were talking with Mr. Bobby Burrell, that card you just held up there, Jeremy, is that one of those cards where people would cut that bottom letter off and send in?
Yeah. You want the F on the bottom. People would cut those off and spell out whatever word it was, and it says right there, save these letters. Fascinating home hockey game free for collecting hockey picture card letters. See reverse side, and then it's just French on the other side. Yeah, I love this card, especially since about the story from where I got it. But I'll save that for another discussion.
All I'll say is that your eyes must have lit up like a Christmas tree when you saw that card at the National.
It absolutely did. But I actually really like this world. Like when you just showed this card here, Josh, I was like, yeah, Josh. Like I was like, awesome pick.
Nice.
Awesome pick. Great card.
All right, Bobby Louie, what's your favorite vintage card?
Okay, well, let me deflate that awesome pick here. I chose it's not as cool, but here. It's for the good listener, a 1990 O-Pee-Chee Premier Sergei Fedorov rookie PSA 9. One of the best junk wax era cards. Personally, for me, I remember these growing up all over the place. Also, the rookie class during this 90 O-Pee-Chee set with Yager, Madonna, Brodeur, Sundin, Belfour, Niedermeyer, Cujo, new Hall of Fame inductee, Jeremy Roenick. List goes on. They didn't all have one of these 90 O-Pee-Chee premium cards, though. But
can I stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting point that I don't know if I've ever connected the dots. Can you make the argument that that's one of the best rookie hobby classes of all time, Jeremy, 90-91?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's another one that even comes really close. And I don't know if it's not necessarily. It's based on the hockey card rookie class versus the team.
The hobby class.
1990 class is. I mean, gosh, like I don't think it's ever come close. You look at across Upper Deck and O-Pee-Chee Premier.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
What a year to be a hockey collector, eh?
Yeah, and Pavel Bure too. He's not in Premier, but he's in Upper Deck. You know, there's others as well. And 91, 92 was great too. Solani, Lidstrom, Hasek, etc. Ziggy Palffy, of course.
Yeah, because there's no Brodeur, no Sundin. If I remember right in this set, I don't think there's a Roenick either. But anyways, it shouldn't be any secret this card has been graded many, 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 many times either. But with that, there still must be some interest in the card because one just sold on November 23rd for $28.50. And the current bid on this card is $11. And as I'm flipping through there looking for cards and I see these pop up, I don't know why I always just stop.
Well,
for some reason, they hook me.
Yeah. There's a part of collecting, and I'm the same way. This is our wonder years, right? So you go, and it doesn't matter in some cases if what the population count is, what the values are. It's like when I look at the 1990 Upper Deck Sergei Fedorov Young Guns, that's the card that put me in this chair today.
Yeah.
And so y'all always, put that card above everyone else. And so, yeah, I think what you did is what a lot of people do is you connect certain cards to your youth.
I agree.
All right, Jeremy, what's your pick for vintage in the current Fanatics Collect Weekly?
Well, it's that one right in front of you now there, Josh. The 1967 Topps Bobby Orr. This is his second year card. The card being offered on Fanatics Collect this coming Sunday is a PSA 8. I love this card, you guys. Many, myself included, actually prefer it in aesthetics to his 1966 rookie card from the year before. That's a beautiful card too. Don't get me wrong. I have a painting of it behind me. You can't see it right now, but I love the 66. But this 67 to me is one of my favorite second year cards in the whole hobby. When you are shopping for one of these cards, you always want to consider the centering, obviously, as you do with most cards. You can see the one in front of us right now. It's off center a little bit to the left, but still a beautiful, beautiful copy. There's also often a fisheye on this card in the bottom right quadrant, which we do see on this copy. If you kind of look just to the right of right there, that little white fisheye being circled by the arrow, by the mouse. That is something that if you can find a copy without that, you're doing even better. And keep that in mind. It's just one of those little nuances of the card. I love the pink and yellow. I love that pink background. It's so funny. I love the yellow down at the bottom that matches with his jersey. I love the stick figure crowd in the background. Like, it's just such a rudimentary drawing. This card just screams 1967 to me myself. Highest price ever for one of these was a PSA 10 sold in May 2021 on Fanatics Collect back in its PWCC days for $27,354. Actually seems like a steal to me. I don't know what the population is of that PSA 10. I'm guessing it's, well under 5, but $27,000 for second year Bobby Orr seems like a good deal to me. The highest price ever for a PSA 8 was in February 2022 on eBay for $6,006. Seems like a good deal to me again. The current bid on this one is only $1,425. Now, I say the highest price in February 22 was $6,006. I did do another sort by recent date, and they were selling for in the low 4s, I believe, if I remember correctly. So currently a 14.25 is actually pretty low at this point, and that's a really nice copy that I would have no problem adding to my collection, despite the centering and the fisheye. I think it's gorgeous.
Awesome card. Totally agree. We're going to switch over to modern, give our picks. My modern pick, I'm going to the Bedsy. I'm doing it. 2023-24 Upper Deck, Connor Bedard, Young Guns, Alper Silver, PSA 10. Now, we've talked so much about the Bedard base Young Guns PSA 10 on our show here. I've been pretty open about my opinion. I don't think it's, if you want to use the word investable, quote unquote, card, PC, fine, no problem, right? There's just 6,200 PSA 10s and growing, and I foresee way more supply than demand probably going forward on that card. But an alternative that I would pitch is this parallel, the Outburst Silver. First, it looks amazing in my opinion. I think the Outburst parallel designs was not just a home run by Upper Deck, but a grand slam. I think they huge win for them. It adds such pop to the cards. And yeah, I do like shiny refracting cards, so that colors my opinion a little bit. But beyond how you might feel about the Outburst designs, I think the numbers make a compelling case too. The Bedard Young Guns Outburst Silver PSA 10 has a pop of 122. The Bedard Young Guns base PSA 10 has a pop of 6,177. Your Honor, am I allowed to rest my case? Okay, no. We'll go on. How about this? While the Silver Outburst PSA 10, yes, is more expensive, last selling for about $2,045 on November 12th, compared to about $650 right now for the base Young Guns PSA 10. I would argue that I'd gladly pay a 3 times premium for 1/50th of the pop count. To me, that seems like a smart use of money there.
Hobby
Long term,
capital.
long term, if you believe in Bedard and think he'll be a star in the league, in my opinion, this is just a much smarter play. I don't know. Do you guys agree or disagree with that?
100% agree. I think we talked about it on last Sunday
Yeah.
on the show we do every Sunday night. Yeah, I completely agree, John. You said you're gonna go Bedsy. This is the way to go if you're going Bedard, in my mind.
Mm-hmm. You like this better than base, Louis, too?
Because of the population, absolutely, I would chase that.
Yeah. Do you have a current bid, Louis? I forgot to look it up.
Actually, I do. It's sitting at $1,025.
Okay, yeah, pretty fair for this spot in the week. What's your pick on the modern side, Baba Louis?
It is this beauty, a 2015 O-Pee-Chee Platinum Connor McDavid rookie auto, BGS 9.5. He seems to be Mr. Popular lately, so what the heck? We'll just grab a Bedard Connor McDavid card. First and main thing that makes this card get my vote is it's probably my favorite O-Pee-Chee Platinum year ever.
Okay.
Out of all of them. Other than that, just getting to the card, 80 of these have been graded by BGS and none are higher than 9.5. Last sale for it was $4,161 last August 12th, or in 2023, I'm sorry. And the current bid on it right now is at $1,100 US. I just think it's a great looking card, except for here, I'm going to complain again, and everybody gives me crap because I put all of my graded cards and my top loaders in team bags or I cover them. The case is so scratched up.
Yeah.
To look at the card, it's such a nice looking card.
Might be worth it on this one, like if you're at the expo, to go to Beckett and see if they can just reholder it.
Or just use some of this stuff and buff out those scratches on the holders.
Cheater.
McGuire's Scratch X 2.0. I use this only on slabs to get rid of buff out scratches and other blemishes on slabs, especially Beckett slabs, which are just the worst slabs out there for that.
Those ones scratch up really easy.
Yeah.
Well, and you can make the same argument for this card we did with the Bedard. With the McDavid Young Guns PSA 10 and BGS 9.5, there's a combined 10,000 copies. So for the price of 2, roughly, McDavid Young Guns PSA 10s, you can have a rookie auto from O-Pee-Chee, very well thought after brand in the hobby, O-Pee-Chee Platinum, with a gem mint grade and a 10 auto grade. Seems like a smart choice to me.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you were going to pick this one, Jeremy. I even didn't pick it myself because I left it for you. And I'm excited to hear your perspective on it. So let's hear your modern pick.
There, before he jumps in, there was another one in there that I had picked. And then I was like, oh, he picked that other guy. I better go pick a different card.
You were going to go with the one I went with?
No, the other one.
Oh, the vintage one?
Oh, McDavid.
The McDavid.
Got it.
Oh,
okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, this one right here. Well, So 2016 Fleer Showcase EX 2017 Essential Credentials now. Sidney Crosby, number 2 of only 2 copies ever produced, and this is an SGC 9, which is great grade. This was easy for me, guys, as Josh could have predicted it, and he did predict it. I love Essential Credentials. I love Sidney Crosby, and I love low print runs. 2 copies, it's about as low as you get without being a 1 of 1, but that's just simple math. These were based off the 1996 Skybox EX 2000 credentials, which are out of $4.99, which featured most prominently Kobe Bryant. Now, this image does not do it any justice. The Fanatics Collect image does not do the card. It does it some justice, but it's missing out a complete detail. Because that inlay between that kind of bluish thick border and the cutout of Sidney Crosby is actually an acetate layer that features a beautiful landscape theme, which I wish it would show that, but it just doesn't. So it's a beautiful, beautiful card. These are, and we refer to these as the Essential Credentials nows. The nows, there's the nows and there's the futures, and the futures are different color, and they are also reverse numbered from the nows. So there's 42 cards in the set, I believe. Sidney Crosby's now is numbered out of 2, while his future is numbered out of 41, right? Because somebody else has the 1 and the 42. I don't remember. I'm not sure who that is right now. But it's a really cool reverse numbered set of parallels that are both parallels to the green bordered version, which is unnumbered. Just such cool cards. They're beautiful. And again, there's only 2 of these. Current bid right now, I just checked, Louis, $165. That's a joke to me. And I just don't understand how, but that will change. I know whose card this is. He's on Instagram, and he consigned it. And when it went live, he sent me a DM and he said, "Let's see what it's worth," because he knows that I own the other copy of this card. I own the 1 of 2, and he had the 2 of 2. And so I'm going to go from being card bros with Billy, not Billy Celio, a different Billy on this card. Someone is going to become my new card bro, and no one else can join us in that very exclusive group because there's only 2 copies of it.
I would assume too that Crosby reaching 600 goals was maybe a catalyst or a factor in listing it now.
I don't know. I'm not convinced of that, Josh. I don't know. I was just listening to the radio today coming home from dropping my kids off at school, and they were talking about how Sidney Crosby is kind of like on a very bad team and what's he going to do for the rest of his career. And one of the comments they made was like, so yeah, he's going to be there, play out the next 3 years of his career there. He's going to hit all these milestones, but that's it. He's just playing out his career, hitting milestones. So I don't know if 600 goals is what prompted Billy to list this card, but maybe it might be, Josh.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, you never know. There's a million reasons, right?
No, so so I don't look like an idiot, the card I was going to pick was an 08 Ultra EX Essential Credentials green Ovechkin. And then I looked and saw that Jeremy had an EX in there. I was like, oh, we don't need to have 2 of those. So
we can believe me, with your 2 co-hosts, Louis, we could review Essential Credentials all day.
I would
made us happy.
Yeah, that's fine. And hey, Jeremy, there's 10 PSA copies or PSA 10 copies of this guy, or 3 PSA 10. Did I say it right? 3 PSA 10 copies
of this card.
Of this card.
Yeah, I said it was, what did I say? It's most likely under 5. So I'm glad I guessed that right. Yeah. It's such a great card.
Okay, well, one last kind of quick thing about Essential Credentials for you. I know you're not a big, you don't chase after new products, but what do you see yourself doing when EX 2000 comes out? Are you going to be jumping on that?
Well, I mean, I'm sitting here nodding because I'm very excited for the product, just like I was when Metal Universe came back out in 2020 or 21, whenever it was, and it kind of disappointed at the end of the day. Now I hope that is not what happens here with the Credentials when it comes out. So I'm very I'm excited for it. I'm somewhat bullish on it. I'm going to really try to find something I like within that release for me to chase and collect. Yeah.
I'm confident because Gene was at the helm of it, and I feel like that
That helps. Yeah.
that'll help there too.
Yeah.
All right, personal pickups. Jeremy, you're our guest, so why don't you we'll roll through some of your personal pickups, and excited to see what you got.
Yeah. So this one on the screen right here, 2005 The Cup, Gordie Howe. Base card, nothing, no mem, no auto. It's just a simple base card. But to me, 2005 The Cup base cards are the best, maybe important's a weird word, but they're the best, maybe most important base cards of the modern era. So that's that. And what is the modern era? Well, I'm actually going to discuss that on a special episode of Sports Cards Light, which I'm recording, going live tonight, which will be, I guess,
Nice.
before this pod releases. So you can check that out. But in any event, I love this. I've owned the Wayne Gretzky for quite some time in a PSA 10 holder. This Gretzky is a pop 3, and when I saw the Gordie Howe at my local monthly show here last Saturday, and I asked the vendor, "Do you know the population?" He says, "I think it's a 1," and then I went and confirmed it is in fact the Gordie Howe is in fact a pop 1. I said I have to buy it to match up, to pair up with my Gretzky, the two best base cards in that whole set. I have them now. I'm the only one that can have both of these in PSA 10 holders. They truly are gem mint, which is important to me. I don't just believe the grade. I want to verify. I love these cards. And so, yeah, I got the Gordie Howe to go with my Wayne Gretzky 05-06, the Cup base.
So forgive me here, but are those a hard grade? Obviously.
Yeah, they're
cards?
thick. Yeah, they're thick cards, right? Now, the one thing that isn't as hard about them, when it comes to thick cards, is that they're not being sent to the players for signing and all that,
Sure.
so they're a bit easier that way. But yeah, they are tough because they are so thick.
Just your typical thick card issue. Okay. All right. You ready for number 2?
Ready for number 2. 2007-8, The Cup, Emblems of Endorsement, Mario Lemieux. Great auto, 15 copies produced. This is a classy year for Emblems of Endorsements. The patches are smaller than they've gotten in more recent years, but I love that on the right, you have a nice symmetrical 3-color patch. On the left, it's 1 color, but at least it's yellow, which is going to be better than white or black. And I have a Yari Curry from this set in my collection, so I get to pair it up. I love pairing cards, and I actually bought it from the same vendor that I bought the Gordie Howe from. So we did a package deal on the 2 cards, and I was really happy with it.
Nice beauty. I love this card.
What's his name, Josh?
Oli Lefsa. But that's who signed it. It's Mario Lemieux's name.
And finally, at the same monthly card show, I grabbed this out of a vendor's showcase. It's the 23 Metal Universe Soul of the Game Gold, numbered out of 99 on the back. Soul of the Games came out back in the 90s in basketball. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant each have a card. They're very popular. I think it's 96. I don't remember the set they came out of exactly. Maybe Metal Universe, probably. I don't always want to grab cards that are, throwbacks to old designs, but this is it's so nice. Even the metal logo on the bottom right is that nice kind of goldish foil. It's just beautiful. The card shines. It's shinier than it looks on this image. And it's Ovechkin and it's playing days, blah, et cetera, et cetera. I just think it's a really cool card. Soul of the Game was originally a Gene McLeod design. And originally, even the original designs look like this, except with a white background. They were meant to be die cut. But back in the day at Fleer, they ran, or Skybox, whatever it was, they ran out of budget on that set. So they didn't die cut the cards. So they were never die cut, just like they're not this year, which I'm sure Upper Deck is happy about. They didn't have to, spend more money to do that. But it's just a really cool card. And the vendor gave me a great deal on it. And then that vendor ended up becoming a new client of Slab Sharks, gave me a submission for Slab Sharks as well. So overall, awesome. A great stop by his table.
Awesome. Yeah, I like these cards too a lot. I like everything Gene does. So problem for my bank account.
Yeah.
Bob Louie, any personal pickups this week?
I didn't get around to them, so you are up.
All right, I had 3. First 2, the last one's ridiculous, but the first 2 are well, actually 4 technically. I got 2 of these 2021 Clear Ultra Kirill Kaprizov gold medallions out of 20. I already have a bunch, but when I can find them, these are tough kind of condition cards, not just around the edges and corners, but the foiling actually around the name is so that if you're interested in these, look out for that. Like it can be missing chunks. I don't know if it just chipped away or something like that. And so when you find where the black on the name is kind of all intact, that's something to look for on condition of these cards. And these 2 were very nice, and so I bought them both. And I
Nice
bought
for
another one.
nice for ComC scans. Or is this just the picture you used?
No, this is this is what you get from ComC,
Yeah,
Louis.
uh-huh.
Which is Jeremy, do a show on that, please. 2021 for another one of these Jack Hughes gold medallions. I collect these, so when I find ones that I think are like, based on ComC's 1912 photos, that I think the 1923 set had better photos than this, but yeah, I picked them up. And then, oh my god.
Dum-dum-dum.
And I'm an idiot for this is stuff that I should never even say out loud because it only makes me look like a complete idiot. Do you guys ever have like times where you completely like unplug every bit of like logic and reason from your brain and just like see something that somebody shows and be like, "Oh my god, I love this. I have to have it." And then immediately go out and buy it, and then about 4 seconds later say, "Oh, what does something like this typically sell for? Did I just like dramatically overpay for this card, or what is it? What set did it come from? Is it rare?" Yeah, I totally did that. I still don't even know. Like I literally somebody posted this on Discord. I'm like, "That is so cool." I went to eBay. I found one. I put an offer for like $10 what they were listed it for less. And of course they insta accepted it, which was my first cue that and honestly, I haven't even had the courage to even look up what the comps are on this card yet because I don't think I want to know. So yeah, it's a 1999 Upper Deck Steve Yzerman Retro Gold out of 150. I paid $35 for it. So, I'm sure somebody will look it up and it's worth like $3.
Oh, I'm on it
Get him,
already.
get him, Jeremy. Get him.
Yeah, you might as well just like it's because somebody will at this point. But I don't know. I just think it was a cool card.
That's cool.
I hate when I do this though, and it's like once every 2 months, I get like beyond impulsive and do something crazy.
What did you say you paid for it?
$35.
Yeah, you didn't do. I just got to change my to USD here for a moment, and I'm going to tell you what. So you paid $32 or so on November 25th. On March 18th, one of them sold for $19. So you spent a whole $14 too much on the card, Josh. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, it wasn't enough where it would really matter.
It's not like you bought it for $80 or something,
Oh, I've done that. Believe me, I have my Sidney Crosby highlighters, which I still has the all-time record by a mile sale. I don't know though. Do you guys ever do this though? Or is it just me? Do you ever completely go just
I've done it and thought it's the only one on there I'm going to find. So I go and buy that one. And then I'm like, wait a minute. And I look and I'm like, seriously? I just paid $15 more?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to feel better, Josh, just think back to Troy's Kaprizov Young Gun PSA 10. I mean, that's really all you need to do to feel good about a purchase. Sorry, Troy.
I like kind of retro looking cards, so I'll be happy to have it. Well, thank you for allowing Phil to go play Kissy Smoochy Face and being our EBU emergency backup host. It's always a treat to have you on. Boy, I called the length of it almost to the T, didn't I, Jeremy?
Yeah. I appreciate that. I got a wife's out of town, so I got to go pick up the kids from school shortly. But yeah, this has been great. It's just so much fun to hang out with you guys and talk hockey and hockey cards and all the different segments. It's wonderful.
For everyone celebrating Thanksgiving today, have a happy Thanksgiving with you and yours. And if you're not, just let it know that we appreciate you and we appreciate your support and you listening. If you like the episode, please leave a rating, review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, you want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our $2.99 support level tier on Patreon. Link is in the show description. Both YouTube and podcast, Instagram, TikTok profile on our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com. There's a become a patron link, and also Patreon website directly, patreon.com. Just search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. Yeah, we're on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. The Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dogbox Ventures LLC. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. Have fun shopping for Black Friday deals. Don't eat too much turkey. And Louis, send us out, bud.
Bye.
Bye.